For whatever reason, in order for me to be close with you, we have to go through some adversity. My next guest today is somebody who had a negative comment in one of my other videos, who I then kind of put in his place, and now it seems like he might be my best friend. I'm going to have my guest, David James Pittman, on next episode or on this episode of the Scho-Zone. All right, everybody, welcome to the Scho-Zone. It is your host, Ryan Schofield, coming at you live in the Degens, or not live, but I'm recording it now. We're in the Degens, everybody, while you're watching. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all the douchebag stuff that podcast hosts like myself say. And as I've kind of say, I don't really do a big introduction. We don't spit on it. We don't fucking lube it up. We just go right to it. Everybody, I'm going to bring you into my guest right now, David James Pittman, or as he's going to go on here as Geronimo Totem. David, Geronimo, guys? Whatever you want to go as. Welcome to the Scho-Zone. How's it going, buddy?
Good. How you doing, man?
Doing fantastic.
I'm excited to be here. I'm really excited to be here.
So, I'm excited to have you, man. We did a half an hour conversation the other day where it's a little bit of a backstory on this, I guess I'll say now that I have you on here. David, it just happened, yes. And then, everyone, we make mistakes, but we acknowledge them. If you watch the episode that I did with Megan Rose, we were talking about how she kind of got in the track of turning her life around. There was no context to it, but I made a short that came up out of it. And David, I totally understand why you did do what you did, where, like people in this business, we all want to, I'm just trying to be famous and this other thing. David made a comment about me perpetuating the garbage, but he did not know the full context of it. Now, the old me would have probably said something very dickheadish, which seeing David in person right now would be just my luck, because that guy looks like he'd fucking rip my arms off and beat me to death with them. No, but David, realized his mistake on there. And then suddenly I was like, he was like, hey man, I got a book I want to talk about, by the way. I got an email, which I was like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, Jesus. And then you even said that, whoa, that was a bit much or whatever. It was having a brief conversation with you, which I would say 30 minutes with you was a very brief conversation based on how long I could talk to you. I became very, very intrigued. So David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
God. Well, first let me say, what was the girl's name again? I am so sorry for forgetting.
Megan, and I sent her the exact clip of you saying that. She thought it was adorable. She, we got thick skin, especially if you're a comedian like she is. We move on real quickly, and especially where,
yeah, it's. I felt so when, because I did it like I was just scrolling through, and you know how you do that. You're just sitting there bored. Oh, geez, I'll scroll through a little bit. Scroll through a little bit. I was like, oh, no, not another one of these. I want to be famous. I'm going to be an actress. I'm going to be a superstar. And I'm going to make my own videos and produce my own videos. I mean, it's just, that's what for a second, and I was just, whatever. And I rifled off something stupid. Like, come on, enough with this. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I read that wrong. And that's indicative of my condition. I have Asperger's and ADHD. And I didn't find out until I was 41. All right. But because of it, I had to develop, I don't know if it was that I had to develop or I just did develop the skill of being able to judge a book by its cover real fast. And I had scrolled past a couple and I was like, you know what? You may have misjudged that. And I scrolled back and I was like, yeah, you may have. And I was like, well, and then you sent me a comment back and I'm like, I knew it. I bet you that's the one. I clicked on it and I was like, oh my God, I knew it. Of all the people that I dogged somebody trying to get sober and truly trying to change their lives. I'm like, oh my God, this is what you're trying to do. And you just totally sideswipe somebody for no reason. So I was like, okay, man, I got to talk to this guy. And so I was like, Ryan, man, you want to talk to somebody who's, well, I got a story, buddy, because I've been writing this story for everyone that knows me. Knows that I've been writing this story for about 20 years now. I journal a lot ever since I was a kid, and I just tried to figure out how I wanted the story, what the story was going to end up revolving around. I didn't know it was going to end up revolving around my dog, kind of a Marley and me sort of a thing. But he was like the world's best dog, not the world's worst dog. But I gotta ask you this before we get like really deep into my stuff. I gotta ask you a couple questions. One,
Sure.
Do you know who Detroit Lions Tony Kirkus is that or something like that? Kirkus with the last name of Kirkus back in like the aughts, like 02, 03, something like that. Who's
probably a lineman, if I had to guess.
A brother of his is in prison for murdering somebody.
Okay.
Do you know about this?
No, I don't. I mean, for some context here, David is it's actually a real place. He lives in I mean, is it okay if I say the town or
Sure, yeah, go ahead. Shelby Township,
Michigan, which as I said, he's in Podunk, and I'm like, that just sounds like a euphemism. Like, oh yeah, you'll end up in Podunk, or I'm up fuck out in Podunk, or like that. Like, we have places like here. I'm in the Albany, New York area. There's this place, East Burn, or whatever like that, and it's like, or like it's a Burn Knox is the school, and it's like, fucking way out in Burn Knox or like that. I never knew it was a real place until I started working here there, and I'm like, oh wait, this is a real place. I just thought that was like a euphemism for the boonies, like kind of thing. Yeah. Which I would say, David, you have it. That's an actual real background right there where you live. That looks actually gorgeous there.
Oh, thank you. No, and this is just here. I'm going to turn it this way. And there's a house there. There's a house right on the other side of. I mean, like, okay, fine. Right there.
I mean, your house is your deck is the size of the apartment I live in, so I'd say you're doing pretty well for yourself.
Well, thank you. Well, it's actually I just moved back in here. It's my parents' house. My parents just passed.
And sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's okay. My brother and I are trying to take care of the estate right now, and then I'm off. I'm moving down to Florida, I think.
Okay.
But the whole thing of this is that down this path here, there was this woman that lived there. My family owns a bar, so you know who I am. My family owns a bar called Locker Room Saloon. All right, and it is for if you know who we are, you know who we are. It's the bar with the drumsticks. All right. Back in my time, everybody who knew who we were. Excuse me, I'm burping. Everybody knew who we were. And any place that I went to, people knew who I was or knew who the bar was. Like any state that I went to. I was in California and I was at dinner with 30 people I didn't know for my girlfriend at the time. We were there for business and big table of people. A guy sitting next to me is from San Francisco. He asked what I did. I told him, he says, oh, what's this? We got drumsticks. He goes, oh my God, the bar with the sticks. And he freaked out. Everybody, like 10 other people freaked out at the table, like who knew who we were. And we were like the senior frogs, but for the Midwest, I guess. People, I don't know how many people. We've been open since 1982. So, God, at least 2-3 times a summer, like during bachelorette season, because we are the biggest bachelorette bar in the state. We were the baddest. Nobody could compete with us.
The stories those walls must have then.
Oh, my God, man. Oh, good God. That's the thing. We all kind of play play characters, this, that, and the other thing. And my character was my nickname was Oz, like from the Wizard of Oz, because I was trying to stay in the backdrop while the guys did their thing. And but that's for something else. But so down this path, there was this woman that lived down on the other side of the subdivision, and she started coming into the bar, and I didn't know that she lived here. And she introduced herself. Oh my God, hey, nice to meet you. Blah 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 blah. And she was in her mid 40s. I was probably like 31, 32, and something like that. And she was in her mid 40s, going through divorce. And I introduced her to some of the people. And, she started coming in like a regular for about 2-3 weeks. And she met this guy there, this other guy that started coming in as a regular. He was a little squirrely. Seemed just a little off, a little jumpy, I guess is the best way to put it. You just know something's wrong with the guy. And my bartender introduced them. Well, apparently, I had gone on vacation. I come back, and one of my bartenders says, "Yeah, that girl Kathy that you introduced to that guy." I said, "Yeah, it's Tony Kirkus or something like that. The Lions, a guy that plays for the Lions. It's his brother. They took off to Las Vegas, got married, and he murdered her. He beat her to death, threw her in the trunk, and then started to drive home." He's like, "Yeah," and I thought, "Oh my God, the sports thing is very real. Maybe you would know something about this." I was like, "Oh my God, maybe he'll know." Because it's been in the papers, but I want to put it in the book, but I don't want to put it in the book. because if I'm wrong, then you know what I mean. So because that was because the husband trod down the trail here, right to my house, and says, I feel terrible. I heard that your son was broken up about this, and
it is David. David Kirkus' brother is in jail for murder. Anthony Kirkus was the name of the brother, I believe.
Okay,
that's what it was. So
what's his name? David
Kirkus was his name. Anthony, I believe, was the name of the brother. I just did a Google search on that one. So I mean, you had your names right on that one.
Kathleen, Kathy, whatever her name was. Yeah. And
let's see. I'm looking at this. Yeah, David Kirkus with this, with that. Jeffrey. Okay, pleading guilty, second-degree murder. And they're even saying here, David Lecconte made that catch and giving Henny credit for the throw. They could play, they got this. So they're talking about him playing through their God. Chad Henne was the quarterback at the time, which maybe that was Michigan College. This was Michigan College, and then this is all, or no, he played for the Dolphins at one point as well too, I guess. So I mean, he's not a household name for a player, but wow, that's
I thought that was really strange.
Which kind of segues into a little bit of what we're going to talk about a little bit. So I mostly found, I honestly feel like I'm talking to myself right now, even the way that, if you watch my show, the idea that I introduce a topic and I say, we'll get to that. And then I just never, ever get to that because I can only imagine the nightmare that you have writing and why you've been writing a book for 20 years. Because if I do these free flowing conversations that I do, I always am like interrupting myself with another thought in the middle of something. And then I'll say, I'll get back to that. And I don't exactly take notes to get ever back to that. I've had some times I've listened back. I'm like, wow, I had a really good story there, but I got myself sidetracked with something else. So I can imagine that that's something you go through where now.
For me, thank God. ADHD, thank God the ADHD does take me out, but the Asperger's pulls me right back in. So I'm able to stay focused with the conversation usually. So that usually throws people way off.
Maybe I don't have that because in talking to you, the way that you were describing things, with the you just something that was very, very hit with me very hard is that somebody with ADHD kind of embraces chaos to an extent.
Yes.
Or they identify, and I look at that because I kind of in this weird way where it makes everybody else around me uncomfortable. But if I have multiple things going on and just have to just go from one thing to the other, like it gets rid of my paralysis by analysis, I guess I would say, where I don't have time to think. I just go ahead and do things. I just try and just knock off whatever the hell's in front of me. Which can be unnerving for people that actually have their shit together,
I know. Ugh.
But you did say also the other part of that was that the Asperger's thing was that, so that's kind of on the low end of the autistic spectrum, if I'm not mistaken, is your ability to kind of work with patterns and recognize patterns.
Oh God, yes.
That's kind of something that can happen with me sometimes. And, we were talking about this, of that it's a frustrating endeavor, and I don't want to steal your thunder on what you made.
No, go ahead. Because I wanted to know more about you.
The idea that you can kind of, one thing that I really looked at is that I feel like just even in talking with this, and I'm curious to get your perception of it, is that you said if I can see somebody and I can ask them a few questions, I can almost tell everything about them. Now, I always attributed that to my just ability of just chatting with strangers in bars. So like one thing with me is that, I'm now a little bit over 2 years and 4 months now sober. I don't really like to keep track of the date necessarily, but it's sometime in July of 2022 when I had my last drink. I spent so much time in bars just talking with strangers, and I usually was able to figure out a lot about them because being in a bar, you kind of see people sometimes at their lowest moments, and you're kind of trying to figure out how they got there. And I mean, meanwhile, because it's easier to deflect that attention off myself as to what the fuck am I doing here, kind of thing. Like, I kind of feel like David strikes me as a high-wired energy guy. Looks like he takes good care of himself as far as, you look at your shape.
Try to.
Smoking cigarettes, smoking cigarettes, drinking caffeine is, whatever. I mean, we all have our weaknesses in this world, but I mean, we always have reason to improve. So I kind of identify that a little bit with you, and you almost seem to have a little bit. Would I be out of line in saying you got a tinge of the ginge, as I call it? Little bit of red hair kind of thing going on.
Oh yeah. I am a little bit Irish. I got a little bit Irish in me.
I mean, the fact that you and I are both sitting here with beards and hair that's fucking cut the same way. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I know. I kept going back and forth, looking back and forth. I'm like, oh my God, dude, we look exactly the same. Oh, yeah, with the beard and everything like that, the hair. Yeah.
So they say you have a twin out there somewhere. You just don't know where. I mean, we don't necessarily look exactly the same, but we're very, very wired. For anyone that's listening to this on my podcast platforms, on iTunes or Spotify or any of the ones I haven't posted on, you might want to check out the YouTube video of this one because we're doing a lot of visual things going on with this. So,
a lot of visual.
but I just kind of felt like, we started. I usually like to do a 5-minute screening call when I do any of these podcasts, and like I was on a drive home. I'm like, okay, this will be a good enough time because I say 5 minutes because if I don't like what I'm dealing with, I say, all right, I'll get back to you, and then I'll just say, hey, I don't have time or whatever. Yeah. I literally parked in my parking lot, like going like, all right, dude, like we got to save some for the show, like so.
I hope that's a good thing and not while this guy's
no, it's a very good thing. Crazy, it's like I was telling you how I have such a chaotic life of all the things I try to jam into 24 hours. And I'm like, dude, if I take a shit, sometimes it throws me off my schedule. So you continuing to talk with you, I think that I said like, hey, I'm going to end this in like 10 more minutes happens. Like, and if I was like, dude, I got to hang up and then just hung up the phone on you.
Yeah, it's funny. Now when you were saying about, the comment that I left, part of me also is purposely, I've noticed this as well. As you read my book, a big takeaway of it is Dr. Robert Cialdini, the book Influence, and his later follow-up, Persuasion, about how you really want to get something out of people. If you really want to get something, like how to get people to react properly. And this was a bad example of it. But because I've left comments to people, nice ones and, apologetic comments, like, oh shit, I'm sorry, like that one, I just didn't happen to like make an apologetic comment right off the bat until you had said something to me. And
I'd given you full context of what you saw in that 45-second clip is basically what it was.
Yes. And but what I'm saying is that sometimes that negative comment gets a reaction. So it's okay, now I can talk to somebody.
So as I told you, I like to make the analogies of things. I always think of one of my favorite movies, which hasn't aged well because of the guy that makes this comment. In the movie Seven, Kevin Spacey, when John Doe, when they're on the ride out to the big ending, which if you haven't seen Seven yet, I don't feel like I'm not gonna blow it for you, but get on that
what's
shit
in the
now.
Box?
But he's like, yeah, what's in the box exactly? We don't have to talk about what's in the box, I guess. But when they're asking him why he's doing what he's doing, and he says this, and he's like, sometimes you can't get somebody's attention by simply tapping them on the shoulder. You have to hit them with a sledgehammer over the head, and then you'll find you have their full attention. So there is something like that. And then also there is a buddy of mine, which it's never been my style necessarily, but he always had his approach of meeting women was, if you tell a girl she's pretty, she'll forget you in 5 minutes. You tell her something that's wrong with her, she'll never forget you.
Yeah, negative. Yeah.
And people are more likely to leave negative comments than they are to leave positive comments, and I guess that's part of the shtick we put up with. Also, I mean, as a content or somebody getting into the content creation thing, I also understand I look like every other douchebag out there. I have to then differentiate myself. Not really. I mean, at least with what you're trying to do. Again, if you see just that clip of somebody saying, "Oh, I want to be rich, I want to be famous," which
there's no context,
she has actually done. She started just something simple as a cleaning service, which she now does over $1 million in contracts per year, and is going on running. Cool. And she lives in Rochester, New York, and she goes to New York City to do comedy. Like, she's making it happen, which is crazy for me. Is that I did comedy before, and she's almost inspiring me if I could find the time to work it in my schedule to get back into that comedy realm, because it's not that I don't think I have the talent. I just I wasn't comfortable enough with myself. I used to deal with a lot of anxiety, which probably comes with the conditions that we're describing here. That more than half the time before I went on stage, I was in the bathroom fucking dry heaving. And it wasn't necessarily because of what I was drinking. It was because I'm just like, oh my God, what am I about to do? What am I about to do? Yeah. And as I mentioned to her, I'm like, that's something that's very common with a lot of performers, the performance anxiety or like panic attacks and whatnot. Like Jay Moore is somebody I've listened to talk about that, being on Saturday Night Live and feeling like you're going to shit your pants before you go on stage.
See, I never, cause I was always on the microphone. Well, not always. Having been in this business for as long as we have,
which is the bar business, correct?
I'm sorry. Yes. The bar business. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I know is the bar business. And my dad made it a point, my father made it a point to make sure my brother and I got desensitized to talking on a microphone, not being afraid of standing in public. I remember my first speech, I had to give a speech for a speech class. And I was just freaking out for an idea. My dad said it was supposed to be an instructional speech. And he said, do a speech about how to make stick men. I was like, what?
You got someone in the backyard there. Do you know
them?
them?
Oh, just somebody. Oh no, yeah, it's the trail. It's a.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna see people walking by.
Just making sure. I don't want to have a fucking live incident on my show here. You know, I don't want this. I don't want the Scho-Zone to become Exhibit A.
They were talking about Tony Kirkus, then bam. No, God, that would be so bad.
It would give me some clicks, though. I mean, you know.
Oh, I know, right? Oh, there you go. No, my dad, he forced us out there. He made us do it. And he said, look, you know, the stick figure thing, he says, I know you feel goofy doing it. He goes, but I'm specifically giving you something that's kind of weak. So you have to sell it. And I was like, Dad, what the hell are you doing? He goes, trust me, son. He goes, and I was say like 14, something like that, 15. He said, you can either define the moment, or you can let the moment define you. And I'm sure you've heard that.
It's a line from one of my favorite movies ever, Tin Cup.
Oh, it's from that.
I don't know if it's from there. I just
know it's from.
You know, you define the moment, the moment defines you.
Yeah, you hear it about every 5 years in a movie. You hear it, you know.
Right.
And I'm sure my dad got it from a movie too. But my dad was a big reader, Dale Carnegie, you know, that kind of thing. And
yeah, mine was too.
Oh yeah, God, I mean Dale Carnegie. Like I can't believe I'm totally brain farting. Anyways. But yeah, so he pushed us out there to do it. And I remember I was like 21, 22. I was with a DJ friend of mine, big DJ out here. And he was
you are self-proclaimed the meanest DJ in Michigan, I believe you said.
Yes. Well, not oh God, not self-proclaimed, unfortunately.
Even better.
No, and it was such a misnomer. It's woke people I can't stand. Right. And when you get on the microphone and you deal with woke people, eventually you just okay, that's it. You just pull the plug and say screw it. You just take the governor off and just start going because it's too easy. They're just too easy. They make fools of themselves too many times. I mean, all it takes. I can't tell you how many drinks I've had thrown in my face. I've had drinks thrown at me, drinks thrown in my face, beer bottles thrown at me. God. Jeez, I mean, I had a drink thrown in my face before I even ever took a microphone. I had a drink thrown in my face.
They just knew it was going to the preemptive strike.
Well, no, it's just okay. The thing about my condition is I can usually find somebody's bad spot. Okay, I used to tell my staff, if you want to know your customers, you want to get customers to tip you. Every customer's got a warm little center. And your goal is to get to that warm little center as fast as possible. Okay.
The G-spot.
Absolutely. No matter what. Okay. And whatever that G-spot is, they're going to tell you something different. Everybody has a representative. And that's what we were talking about in the bar. That's what I like about the bars is when people drink, that representative falls down and goes away. All right. Now you're getting the real person. All right. For about 20 minutes, you get the real person. All right. And then you get the person what they wish they were. Yeah, what they wish they were. All right. Who they're trying to be, who they are, and then it goes to who they wish they were. All right.
Okay.
And that's how those are the stages. All right. And you got to get it right in that little zone. Because if you get it right in that little zone where they really are and you bond with them, all right, and you use their name over and over and over and over again. All right. And I'm purposely not using your name right now, Ryan, over and over again to illustrate the point. All right. Because I'm going to use it the way I normally would use it. And you'll feel a little bit more bonded that way. It's really such a goofy thing. Same thing with eye contact, all right, with women, all right. And I'm sorry, I don't mean this to be chauvinist in any way, shape, or form, but if you want to get a girl to cave, keep looking her in the eye while you're talking to her, all right? Like you're a girl, and I'm looking at you right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, it's kind of creepy the way I'm looking at you right now. Yeah, right. Girls don't.
I got a friend of mine I got to show this to. That's exactly his thing.
It works. Okay, now look. Here's the proof.
It helps when you have nice eyes to look at, though. I mean, because that's the thing is that if you can see into someone's eyes, and if there's a smile in their eyes, that helps. It's if there's nothing in those eyes, you know, that's when you're like, but then there's still women that will fall for that kind of guy. They maybe have to look themselves in the mirror as well during that transaction.
Yeah, and it was my neighbor who met Tony Kirkus. Yeah. So
I mean,
come on.
Yes. No. I mean, that's
No,
I like
you're
that
not.
you're thinking of that one is that, again, some people would be like, oh my God, I can't believe we made a joke about that. Like, one thing I have going in my life right now is that I've recently started dating a woman who is not from America. She's from Kenya. Cool. And it's like, I'm just realizing that it's like all these things I'd be careful to say you don't have to be, because it's like an American problem. Like,
yeah.
And with the wokeism, as I kind of go on, is that I don't know. We're probably aligned politically to the same degree against like they're now.
I'm fairly
sure, people that say political correctness is just a fancy word for fascism. I mean, it's a meme I'm stealing, but it's like that's what it is.
No, you're right. It's true, but it's true. It's a meme for a reason.
I can say what I want to say. Like someone saying you can't say that. No, I can. It's just that I have to deal with the consequences of it. You're making some really unnecessary consequences from it sometimes. Like where if I directed it, if I looked you in the eyes and said that to you and didn't have a smile on my face, it would be one thing. If I say it and I like have a little bit of a jest to it and I put a little personal spin on it where there's some creative touch, that's my way of it's strangely my way of saying I like you. It's like, it's almost like, again, like, with part of me with the alcohol is that you kind of stop developing at the age you start drinking. And I started drinking in my teens, but it's like, what are you doing in grade school when you find out a girl likes you? You're mean to her. Like
always. You grab her hair, knock her down, or all that, whatever that dumb shit used to be. Make fun of her,
I mean, and then what's crazy is that when you become an adult, they like that you do those things that you mentioned.
Oh, I know, right? Oh, God. Well, it's always funny. Like, whatever scares you as a child is what you find is what you're attracted to as an adult.
Interesting.
Yeah, I always thought that was. I'll save that one for later. Well, no, because I've got a lot of weird ways of looking at things, but from being in the business, but.
Well, I was in the business too. I was just on the other side of the bar, so I mean, I know all about this.
Well, let me tell you this. Okay, like we would get customers. Okay, Kathy, this girl that died. All right. I'm going to give you an example of Mina's DJ. All right. So give you an idea of what kind of staff my guys were. All right, and they were mostly guys. Two bartenders going against each other. All right. They do dueling bartenders. All right. Now, if you sit on the bar and you bonded with me and I've used your name and like I've introduced you to people, it's just you and your friend, but I've introduced you to everybody around you. And you feel like, wow, this is one big group of people. Man, I feel good. I feel like I'm part of this group. And then there's the guy on the other side, that we don't like. All right. Well, you asked me, well, what's his deal? He's kind of cocky. That pisses me off. I just say in the run of things, this is we're doing stuff. All right. And there's a couple girls over there. Hey, have you guys met Ryan? Come here. Sit there and be quiet. Dude, shut up and work with me. Come here. And introduce you, okay? And I'm telling you this, so if you bomb, you feel guilty if you bomb, okay? And now you feel even more into me, okay? One, I'm trying to set you up. Two, if you get hooked up, I'm your bartender for the rest of your life, and you know it, all right?
Oh, 100%.
Exactly. And if you don't get hooked up, you're going to do everything you can to make up for dropping the ball, all right? Because you're going to feel stupid. All right, you're going to think, well, this guy must do this all the time. Yeah, we did. Our goal was to connect people. We wanted to introduce people to everybody else, to make their world bigger. That was like the whole point of it. And I'll get to the point here. When somebody got mean with us, like you got bartender here and the bartender here, I come over to this side to talk to you, all right? And one of your customers starts to get lippy with me. And I turn to that customer and say, hey, take that attitude, wrap it around my cock and suck it and turn right back to you like nothing, like not even skipping a beat. That's what my bartenders would do, all right? So one night.
You got to have that fuck you ready to go on the tongue. You always got to have it chambered and ready to rock, I find.
Oh, always. I learned things to say. And when the drugs took over, all of a sudden that governor was completely gone. Because my biggest
and when we're talking about bars, we know what drug we're talking about, cocaine.
No, not cocaine. No,
really? Oh.
I can't stand that.
David, I'm actually not gonna lie.
This is me natural.
I thought this guy was maybe on cocaine right now, the way you're chain smoking and how you go. But yeah, it's just your natural energy.
No, when I get into stuff, this is actually my natural energy. And that's what always made me laugh. Is everybody was always like, I was like, no, this is just kind of how I am. But the problem is when I get up on the microphone, it's theory of mind. I get just destroyed by theory of mind, where I'm reading everything all at once. All right, everybody all at once, like I mean, one at a time, but all at once. All right, and I freeze up and I don't know what to say. Okay, I mean, just it's a normal
overload.
Yeah, it's system overload. But I get that way before I even touch the microphone, just walking into the bar. All right, sitting. This is why they nicknamed me Oz. So I would always sit in the back and hide myself away from people. And one time, the bartenders were doing their bartender show with the flipping bottles and stuff, and I hid behind a screen because I just didn't want to watch. And one of my bartenders caught me and he said, "Oh, you're the Wizard of Oz!" Ha ha ha! And that's how I got my nickname. I was like, "Oh God," you know. And
the story behind it.
Yeah, always. And that one just happens to be embarrassing. So, but I just couldn't be around people. Just even if I was in the corner, even with my back against the wall, I felt like I could see everything and sense everything. Not sense everything. It's not a sense thing. I feel it. It's there. It's happening. And you know, lights don't usually bother me that much. Sounds bother me. Certain sounds bother me. But when I would get on the microphone, if I took a Vicodin, all right, half a Vicodin, all right, all of a sudden just everybody became a blur. Not like a blur like visually, but mentally a blur. Where I just, okay, I don't have to I'm not thinking about any of you now. Oh, there it is. And everything just it would loosen up. And when everything would loosen up, then I could size people up even faster. Because then I could pick them one at a time. And
the room slows down. Everything kind of like, you know, you're able to kind of, you're now in the moment now where it's kind of like it's like the state of flow, which I discussed with you, I believe, where you know, you're now in the where it's not too challenging and the reward is there. So it's like maybe by adding that little bit of a challenge by, you know, being on a Vicodin might actually be able to, before it was too challenging with the room moving too fast. Now you've slowed it down to the right rates, or maybe you just kind of, that's, you know, what you felt like was putting you in that state of flow, if I'm kind of examining right.
What it did was state of flow, absolutely. But it felt synthetic, and I didn't like that. Is that it felt synthetic? So I could never trust it. But it was more of a just blinding everything in front of me, so I didn't have to concern myself with it too much. I wasn't concerned with what I said anymore. It didn't, because I have always had a hard time understanding how I come across to people in general. And it adds like a bit of a double empathy thing that we have to deal with. That I have no idea how I come across to people. All right. You tell me you'd be surprised. A lot of other people would say I'm the most stoic person they've ever met. When I'm talking about this stuff, because I'm very passionate about it, you're going to get a lot out of me. But so I'd gotten up on the mic and I'd gotten used to snapping back at people because I'd watched people snap at my brother, because my brother used to do this before I did. And it used to bother me that he wouldn't snap back at some of these people. I'm like, who the hell do these people think they are? You're up there busting your ass, smack them back, don't make it funny, but smack them back. And so I, smack people back, make it funny. Then all of a sudden a reputation just started to spread, right, to take a shot at me up in the booth. And because in the beginning of the night, I have to explain what we do, because people stand on the bar stools. We hand out drumsticks. You're allowed to stand on the bar, dance on the bar. You're allowed to go behind the bar. Okay. And it's a crazy place. And so I have to explain all this shit. And so I need everybody's attention when I'm doing this. So if people are, hey, and, trying to talk to me and yelling at me and shit like that, because it's very distracting. But if somebody would distract me enough, I would laugh and go, okay, you got me. Man, Jared, Bob, get that girl a drink. Got to get that girl a drink, man. She said something that was hilarious. You got to do it. And so people would try to take shots at me. Well, that started to get annoying because the woke shots started to come as a serious thing. If I would say, all right, guys, somebody would scream, hey, we're not guys. And I'm like,
oh my God, that shit.
Up. Are you serious? Come on. Well, and usually I blow that up, but those things would get worse. And they banned smoking here. It was right around the time they banned smoking here. That
was in 2003 in New York. So I think we're one of the first states.
Yeah, it was 2008, 2009, something like that. And my business had already, like, after the gas prices, spiked right down the shitter, my business went. And then they added that. I'm like, oh, come on, man. And so I was pissed. So it was about 2 weeks in, and I'm like, screw this, man. I lit up a cigarette because I'm used to doing that, light up a cigarette in the booth and, hiding, having a cigarette real fast. And some girl comes up, my friend dying of cancer. And I'm like, okay.
So yeah, everybody knows somebody that's died of cancer, unfortunately.
Yeah, everybody's dying, sweets. Go away. And she's like, but you're in here smoking, and she's over there dying. And she points to the corner. There's her friend. And I'm like, I said, your friend's over there in the corner dying of cancer. Yeah.
Which, by the way, has been, at least according to Dr. Drew, is medically disproven that nobody has ever actually died of secondhand smoke.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's not me. So that's me taking the words from a doctor.
Exactly. And I've been on that one for 20 years now, and I laughed at people.
I remember they used it when they made that, when they first used the propaganda, as I called it, when they banned that in New York. They talked about the number of waitresses that died of smoking related illnesses, and it's like, okay, well,
they
how
actually
many
said that?
That was what they actually remember in the commercials, and it's like, well, how many of them actually smoke themselves? Like, that's I need more to the data on that one. You can cook stats any way you want to. But that's what's called critical thinking, though. People don't really do that. It's not really no. Kind of frowned upon these days.
Oh, I know. But, well, so she said, critical thinking. So she says, she says all this. That's why it sucks to be her. And I just happen to have the microphone on. Well, it sucks to be her. Oh, no. I'm not done yet. I didn't say the bad part. I didn't say the bad part yet. So she gets up. They're flipping me off. I'm like, okay, you're dying a kid. Do me a favor. Try not to fucking die on the way to the parking lot, all right? On the microphone.
Right out of Clerks. Try not to suck any dick on your way to the parking lot.
Exactly. And I dropped that I don't know how many times.
Never gets old, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That and, like, when you – look, guys, this is for any guy. And, ladies, I apologize. I don't care how skinny the girl is. Oh, no. Okay, fatty. Just say that and you're done. The fight is over. You say that, the fight's over. You call her fat, fight's over. And I don't know how many times I've been up at the DJ booth and a girl comes, and I'll just turn the microphone on. I go, mommy, the rhino's getting too close to the car. And they just freak out.
Tommy boy, one of my favorites ever was a girl one time that was kind of talking to me behind the scenes because I was a bit of an asshole, but people were attracted to me. So, like, the girl didn't want anyone to really know what was going on with us. And it never amounted to anything, but I threw a pot shot at her one time out in a bar, and she kind of decided to blow me up a little bit and said, oh, like, maybe if you were nicer to me, you would have gotten somewhere. And I was like, you should see how nice I am to pretty girls. And some guy that night got the greatest sex of his life and never even gave me the assist.
Jesus Christ, man. I'm telling you. I don't know why, ladies, stop falling for the neg hit. For the love of God, if we'd stop using it, if you'd stop falling for it. Seriously.
It reminds me of, like, it's one of my favorite movies of all time is The Usual Suspects. And it's like when Kaiser Soze killed, when he's telling the story and he's like, another Kevin Spacey, by the way, but he's like, and then he showed these men of Will what Will was, and then he kills his family in front of them.
Yes.
Like, it's like, he'd rather, he'd rather not, live another day than or not his family ever live another day than deal with what had just happened there. Yeah, but it's like, these guys are ready to kill him. And then all of a sudden they just freeze up like fucking, like, what the hell? And he lets one guy live to tell him what happened. Like, so it's kind of that mindset of go the place that no one else is willing to go. If people want to get ugly, like, and what happens with me is that I like to be a nice guy. Don't make me have to cross that line because I don't just fucking, I break that line over my kneecap. Like, I fucking shatter it. Like,
and I wonder if that is, because I've been that way my whole life, where I always take a gun to a knife fight. I don't know why.
Yeah, and come with a fully loaded one too. By the way, it's like, like, I don't just react to this one. I'm a baseball guy in the sense of that you get 3 strikes. If I approach you about it, it didn't just happen once. Okay,
yes,
probably is the second. Everyone's allowed a mistake. Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a problem. Exactly,
and I always try to, game theory. It's always game theory, tit for tat. But my tats are always just way over the top. Because I'm trying to push people. I'm always trying to push people back. Because the biggest, and I wanted to ask you about this if you've dealt with this, executive function paralysis, where you shut down, man. You just can't move. You get off the couch? Nope. You going to do this? Nope. You going to check the mail? Nope. Kind of a thing. Do you ever get to that place?
When I smoked a lot of pot for sure. I don't really
Okay.
think that it's usually the opposite of that. I want to do something. I can't just decide what, like, it's like if it's not right in front of me and I have to go, okay, I need to do all these things. Like sometimes when I leave work, I sit in the parking lot or like, people be like, hey, you can go home early. And I'm like, oh, cool. I stopped working. And then I'm like hanging out there for 20 minutes because I'm like, I don't know my next move yet. I got to do this. I got to do that. I don't know. I'm trying to formulate in my head the best way of it. And while doing this, I'm coming up with other ideas. And I'm just like,
yeah,
so I get that would be my kind of thing of where I'm not literally sitting there, but I do stay in place because I don't know exactly what my next step is going to be.
Okay.
And especially when you're driving, and it happens to me when I have to drive somewhere because it's like, okay, do I want to go left? Do I want to go right? Because if I go left, I'm going to do this. Then am I going to get too far out of the way to go back right? Am I going to get, all of these little things that go through this wild mind of mine where sometimes, and then it just becomes easier to do nothing.
Do you get, it's almost like you've reached your finite, amount of decisions that you're going to make for the day. You're like, I'm done. I'm not making any more decisions.
I just thought I was drinking too much coffee because that makes me into a manic maniac sometimes.
I can't I see that's the thing with that sort of thing. I hate that stuff. Anything up destroys me. And this is, and I'm drinking just classic Coke, I don't drink coffee.
There is some caffeine in that,
Well, no, there's not. No, but yeah.
And are you drinking the American stuff or the Mexican stuff? Because the American stuff,
the Mexican stuff is so much better. Oh, I love the Mexican stuff. I always thought
it was just because it was in a glass bottle. I didn't realize because it's like, oh, this is they use actual sugar, not the fucking manufactured shit that we get here that makes you fucking feel like shit.
Well, the glass bottles, have you ever had glass bottle, like milk in a glass bottle?
Oh, I used to have this one guy I had to tell to cut him off. I mean, chocolate milk is a weakness of mine. I mean, milk in general I do like, but this guy would bring me from this dairy by me a thing of chocolate milk, and it's like no matter how shitty I felt, I can just down the thing from top to bottom. There's something about it being in glass. I don't know what
so much better.
It could be a placebo thing. It just could be that I perceive it to be like, okay, because it's like it's in this fine container, it's not in some fucking carton or something like that, some thing that's barely held together. Like when you get the little milk at lunch, that you can fucking manipulate the fucking carton or like that. That doesn't nearly have the taste of that glass bottle of it. Like,
yeah. But back to the meanest DJ in Michigan thing. Actually, I'm going to grab a Pepsi real fast. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of connect this a little bit for anybody. So go do your thing, time. Actually, I'll take a little quick.
Right, so one second.
I'll filibuster. I can do anything.
Okay. Take me 2 seconds.
So so you guys can imagine. I mean, David, I'm not going to say anything bad about him when he's gone, but this is really just like talking to a different version of myself right now. It's is there actually even a person here? Am I that crazy that there's nobody I'm talking to? But really, really speaking to me on a lot of these things, as far as you're getting an idea of what it's like being in my head sometimes and having to put it into productive uses, I guess. And David, I can actually hit on a few points here of this is that I can just kind of before we get there. I could say with my thing with the speaking thing, and maybe this is also something that happened with you without realizing it. You're from an Irish family, which means you probably have a lot of relatives, right?
Yes.
So I'm the youngest of my family. And, I started realizing if you wanted to be able to speak, you better fucking come correct. Because if not, they're going to tune you out real quickly or, I say, Ryan, go back to the kiddies table. Having that one. The other thing that you have at the bar, I always thought about before, Louis C.K. became, what people think, which is, it was a little borderline with Louis C.K. But he had a comment about his show, Horace and Grant. I don't know if you ever watched that. It's the one on HBO. And he talked about the bar setting is that a bar is really a collection of lonely people pretending to not be alone. So that's why you do have to a good bartender, which it sounds like you are, or, good bar owner, you do want to connect those people there because at a point in my life, when I was a bar regular, it was when I was 200 miles away from home. So I would actually look at like on an Easter Sunday when everyone's getting together with their family. When my family goes to this place, and it's like, I have people there that, here's where you have a good bar crowd. You don't ever call them to hang out. You just show up and know that they're there.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yes. We had that. We had that all the time. Yeah. So you were like kind of a bar regular kind of a guy.
Basically, because I worked for like 10 years of my life out in the Rochester area. I pumped gas out at a fucking full service gas station. And it kind of became the thing if I get out of work at 11 o'clock and it's like, I always hate the idea of leaving work and going right home and going to bed. You have to unwind from that somehow. And not the most productive of uses. Like, even though I like going to the gym and stuff, I like to do that first thing in the morning, because I feel like throughout the day, no matter what I'm doing, I've kind of polluted my body in some kind of way, you know, or I'm like, I'm bringing negative energy there. If I just wake up, it's like I don't have enough. I'm not awake enough to be angry yet, even though sometimes I can wake up angry. But like, you know, it's just a nice, you know, little release in that one, and it kind of feels like it sets the tone for a good day. Versus at the end of the day, I feel like that I might, you know, be thinking about something that angers me, and I might be pushing too hard, kind of thing, which is, you know, feels good in the moment sometimes, but you don't, you know, just like drinking, the effects of it, the consequences of it can be a little bit different. So I fell into that loop and stuff. And then just, you know, by being a respectful person, or, you know, by maybe sometimes the bartender at my place couldn't say something to a customer, but I could say it to them, kind of deal. And just, you know, never really thinking you're too important, kind of deal, but also like, just showing some general, you know, like, I mean, I had bartenders that tell me that it was an honor to serve me because that was one of their favorite customers, where like, you know, I would definitely drink to excess, but you didn't have to necessarily worry. And like, I would know if I got to that point where, like, you know, one bartender of mine would say, you know, hey man, you know, just kind of like say how big my tab had been or something, or, you know, just kind of like, hey, are you sure you need another one just yet? And I'm like, he doesn't want to say it, but he's giving me the hints. I could take that. Some people would get defensive about that, but I'd be like, he doesn't want to have to say that to me because, you know, he just, you know, his job is to sell liquor, you know, like, and I was a great customer for that regard.
Man, I wondered now, like, excuse me. Yeah, we would have got you, man. We would have got you hard. Like, okay, here's what I mean by gate. The bartenders wore back and forth for tips, okay, and for rounds bought on the bar, okay. On any given night, a bartender at my bar with 10 customers could easily pull $3,000 of tips. Yeah, that's the biggest night we've ever had.
That's $300 a customer, man.
Yeah, it was $10,000 in tips, and it was off of 15 customers.
What the fuck are you guys in, like, a really rich neighborhood or something? Like,
nope. Like I said, man, podunk.
It's like, that sounds like stripper shit.
No, here's the funny part. Okay, Visa had to change their rules because of us. It was the $10,000 tip that we were trying to process. And Visa called and asked,
"You're scamming them."
Yeah, and rightly so. And we're like, they asked, "Are you a strip club?" We're like, "No, we're not a strip club. The customer actually tipped this."
And he's selling drugs out of the place, like whatever.
Exactly.
You know, like,
oh yeah. And we're like, no, I mean, because this wasn't the first time we've had big amounts like this go through, but this was the biggest. And they said, we can't allow it. We said, okay, well, you talk to her, and you know, they called her. And
what was a bachelorette place you said? So that might be actually explain a little bit. That's not an ordinary night in the town.
I'm sorry?
You said it was a bachelorette party haven, so that's not an ordinary night in the town. Like,
no, that's an ordinary night in the town.
Jesus.
I'm not kidding. I'm not. We took pictures of this and all of this and video, and because we knew no one would believe this. It all stems from the work that my manager and I, Rube, did back in 2001. All the research that I'd been doing. See, my problem was I didn't know I had this condition. All right, I didn't find this out until I was 41. All right, I was bumping into walls right and left. No idea, why I was like dying for the chaos, but loved structure. Like, what the hell's going on? And, I'm just ripping my hair out. And it was just, I mean, it's two, you got to understand, it's two forces fighting with each other and fighting with each other,
The internal battle, yeah.
Yeah, so I was trying to make the bar look like what was in my head, just structured chaos, all right? But I couldn't get there if my guys weren't making really good money, all right? So I needed to teach them how to make good money. And the biggest thing was the rule of reciprocity, all right? The rule of reciprocity is hands down the greatest move known to man in sales, all right? If you can find a way to do a solid for a customer, you're gold. In the tip industry, you're gold, all right? Think about it like this, all right? You there?
Yeah, no, I'm just writing the name. Structured Chaos is going to be the name of this episode, so I just want to have a note of that. I don't have a pen here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that's a
good one. There you go. is this. All right, let's say you and I are taking an art history. Not you and I, because you take an art history class.
You did, actually. My very first class in college. You probably
really?
knew
Okay,
that from looking at me.
There you go. So now this little old lady sits down next to you, okay? And the class is 3 hours long. Professor does his thing, did it for the first hour. And after the first hour, he says, all right, I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to get up and stretch your legs. And the old lady gets up. She walks out of the room. And a couple of minutes later, she walks back in and she's got 2 Cokes. And she sets one down on your desk and says, I asked the professor if it was okay if we drank in class. He said, yeah, you look thirsty, so I got you. All right. And you're like, oh my God, thank you. You can't believe she did something like this. All right. I can't believe she did this. All these thoughts are going through your mind. All right. But then the professor comes back in and starts teaching again. All right. He tells you, all right, we're going to go for another hour. We're going to do another 10-minute break. And then after that, we'll finish the class. So the hour's going by. And what's going through your mind is, God, why can't more people be like that? And all these crazy thoughts of, why can't I? How do I show this person that what they did was really cool? Why can't people be like this? And I need to repay this debt. All right. And the more time you sit there in this woman's presence, the more that weight starts to weigh on you. Okay. And so now the next hour goes by. Professor says, I'm going to give you guys another 10-minute break. And we'll come back and finish class. A couple minutes sitting there, and the old lady turns to you and says, my granddaughter, she's a brownie, and she's selling some raffle tickets. Would you like to buy some? You're going to buy those tickets so fast it'll make your fucking head spin. Okay. Anything to repay the debt. All she paid was $2 for a Coke or however much for a Coke. And bam, you just got, if you had $20 in your pocket, all 20 of that's going to those tickets. You know it and I know it. Right. And that's how it works. So I had to figure out a way of how to set this up for my staff to be able to capitalize on it, because you know how they bring a dinner mint at the end?
Yeah. Just the little, just and with a good taste in your mouth.
Yeah. Well, that is the point of that. That's the point of that is the rule of reciprocity. That was the original intent, but it's become completely homogenized. Okay. So it's lost all of its effect. All right. So we don't even know what it is anymore. All right.
It's I'm always fascinated with how these things start, these little traditions or little things like that. I just assumed like, hey, you have fresh breath because you're probably trying to get a kiss from your date or something.
Exactly. Well, it's just whatever. But that was the intent behind it was, as I'm doing something nice for you. Please give me a little extra. Okay. Well, I thought, all right. That used to be that if you get good service, you tell one person. You get bad service, you tell 20. The whole thing is flipped. It's completely the opposite now. You get good service, you're telling everybody because you're blown away by it. All right. And I knew this all the way back in like when Lethal Weapon with Joe Pesci, they fuck you in the drive-thru. I'm like, oh Christ. Everything we just learned in college just went upside down, son of a bitch. And nobody seemed to get that, And we called it, I called it one of the chapters in my book. It's the Excalibur, the lowered expectations of like how to shit your pants and be king. Whoever doesn't shit his pants is king, And so if you go above and beyond just a little bit and not that little extra for the extraordinary from the stupid movie Waiting, but the real deal, all right, you go a little bit above and beyond, people freak out over it. And so that's what we did, all right? If a customer asked, back when we had cigarette machines, and I don't know if you remember when cigarette machines used to be in bars or restaurants.
Yeah, to make the for soda, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry, for cigarette machines.
Oh, cigarette machines. They said syrup. Yeah. Oh, yeah, cigarette machines. Yeah, I hung it at a bar that still had one for a while. Yeah, and that's where underage kids would buy them all the time. So
I know. Well, whenever somebody would ask, hey, you guys sell Marlboro Ultralights? Yeah, don't worry about it, man. And the bartender would take $5, like right off of his. The bartenders, when they get tipped, they pin the money to their shirts. You'll see if you go onto the site, you'll see the pictures of it. They put the money on the shirt, so the customer see this is what you tip me. Fuck yeah, all right. And it shows it displays to everybody else. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Do as the Romans do. Tip, okay. And what without being dicks about it, all right. We're just encouraging the people that tipped for tipping, and the people that don't, cool, whatever. But so if somebody wants packs of Marlboro Ultralights, cool. They would pull boom, rip money right off the shirt, jump over the bar. I always told them, do not walk around the bar, jump over the bar like your ass is on fire, because they're going to try to stop you. Don't let them stop you. Run, grab cigarettes, give it a little pack, not a lot, because not a lot of people like it packed. Open it up, pull a couple out, so it's like 2 or 3 sticking out. Take matches, stick it in with the things, like one match sticking out. Take the glass like this, stick it in the glass, right, with a diamond napkins like this, and just so it's in the glass like this, and just take it and go. There you go, slide it to them, but like it's nothing. Just and turn your head like it's nothing. Well, hey, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. Like it's nothing. All right. People freak out over that. They don't know what to do with that. All the bartender would spend back in the day, $6, $5 for a pack of cigarettes. It got him a $30, $40 tip. Okay. And it's just little ideas like that. Right. But it was about being sticky. It has to be sticky as well. We want the customer, when they walk away after tipping a $5,000 tip, to feel good that they just tipped $5,000. Okay. And I have never had one tip back up where they went, nope, the next day. Not once. At this bar, even my satellite bar in Livonia, Michigan, the biggest tip out there was $7,000. But here's how this whole meanest DJ thing happened. I had, said what I'd said about the cancer thing and and all that kind of stuff. And a Facebook site, like, page started, to the hatred of me. All right.
That's did something right, by the way.
Oh yeah. And so on my wedding night, my wedding night, I'm sitting there, already just a ball of nerves anyways. And one of my bartenders calls me, says, hey, have you seen the site? And I was like, the Facebook site? Yeah. It's like 2,000-3,000 people deep, dude. I was like, oh, come on, man. Turned out it was 3,000 people deep. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. And there were some local DJs, like radio DJs. They would talk about me from time to time because customers would call in bitching about me. And they would all laugh. They're like, man, don't you understand? This is what they do. Have you ever heard of, like, Dick's Last Resort?
Oh, yeah. The one down in Myrtle Beach? Yeah. I went there.
Well, they're mean to the customers.
I would be fucking great at that place, by the way.
That's what we were.
All right.
But nobody seemed to understand we're joking. This isn't real. None of this is real. I mean, do you really think my name is
selling
Oz?
An experience. That's basically what it comes down to. Is you're putting an experience and you're letting that person put a price tag on how much it meant to them, is what it sounds like to me.
Exactly. And I can't tell you how many times, on the good side of this, we would get, I think, God, this is my favorite story. Bachelor comes up, she the whole bridal party comes in, wedding gear and all. She's still wearing her dress, for God's sakes, in our bar. Oh, it's like going to CBGB's in a wedding dress. Like, what are you doing? And so she comes in, the whole party's in, and she's yelling, hey, and I stop everything. I'm like, what? Oh my God, I stopped everything. Turn the lights off. I'm like, what? Just to embarrass her and mess with her, like, teasing her. And she's like, oh no, and she kept going. She said, my husband and I met here. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, guys. They met here.
You probably hooked him up.
And but that's not the story. So, okay. She goes, my parents met here. I was like, oh my God, that's her parents met here. That's not it. I'm like, okay, fine, go. And I actually sit here and I handed her the mic. Her parents met there. She met her husband there. Her parents met there. Her husband's parents met there. She was conceived in the parking lot down the street. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's the best story ever. I loved it. I couldn't. I'm like, there you go. That's what we're doing this for.
And in that environment, what happens too is I've been a part of some of these get-togethers where, like, honestly, like, I've had times where at a bachelor party where maybe the stripper wasn't good, or sometimes when the bartender was overwhelmed, it turns into this, like, we want to, as guys, it turns into a cock showing contest of who can give the biggest tip kind of deal. Or, like, there was a bar I hung out at a lot that, and, just on a medial thing, we're in a small college town, which is why the amount of money you're mentioning to me is kind of crazy. But, like, when this one bar had a thing where anyone that left a $10 tip, they rang a bell. will fucking, if one group is if a bartender's walking over to one group and continuously ringing the bell, they're one-upping everybody in the place. So then some other group they need to one-up that, they need to ring the bell there, and it's kind of breeds that into there. So this is all kind of making sense to me, or at least that sounds
exactly how it works. Now ours is an actual air raid siren. All right, $5 and up. It's an actual air raid siren that goes off. I mean, it's almost deafening. All right.
So let me ask you this: you're probably not charging a lot on your actual alcohol, then, or something? Is it more of that you're relying on making the tips, or you charging top prices in all this process too?
No. We're on the low end. We would always stay on the low end. We never wanted to overcharge. When people go to bars and things like that, now it's an affectation for them. This is what defines me as a person. Okay, yeah. All right. And so the facilities make a big deal. Our facilities look like shit. All right. So our thought was, all right, screw it. Just turn into the skid, man.
It just sounds like I should have never walked into this bar. If I was ever in my ballpark tour, my drinking days, if I was ever like, yeah, while you're in Detroit, you got it. Cause you're not too far from Detroit, you said, or
nope. Yeah. We're about 20 minutes north.
Well, then you might be meeting me at some point, because I have to knock off Comerica on my ballpark list at some point. So I'll be definitely being in touch with you on that one. But
we don't own it anymore. So,
oh, okay. Well, I mean, either way, I was just kind of going. Is it like a dive bar with flair? Like I never was a club guy. Like to pay for that experience is a shallow experience to me. This one sounds like it would have been like a fucking problem for me, because I've been like, oh shit, we gotta go to the ATM.
But that's. I mean, you would have had fun. You would have had a lot of fun. I promise.
Of course, I would have.
So.
And it sounds like what for the other day. Now, another thing you kind of mentioned with the idea of that, the finding out about that person, or, getting a little more, is that, so, I mean, I work tip-based jobs. I used to fucking pump gas. Part of the reason I didn't quit for a while is because I would walk out with a pocket full of cash, literally just freaking $20 or fill it up and stuff like that. And just something of whether it be wash a window or make a comment about a bumper sticker, or in some cases, make a middle-aged woman who her wife doesn't find her attractive anymore, make her feel attractive, even though it wasn't a lie. I actually did, because, I always, like these things. Another thing, I mean, I work in sales now, and this is always the one of that. I mean, it's the go-to for me, is that everybody has to eat. And you can find, if I did this, I worked in cell phones for a while. If I got a zip code from somebody, or a zip code or an area code, I would be like, oh, you're from around here or something like that. And knowing, because I mean, from my own, not bullshitting, just knowing through my own travels, like, oh, have you ever been to such and such, whatever kind of regular spot there. And it's like you just start describing that atmosphere to them, like, oh yeah, when you walk in there, they got this on the wall, and then you smell this, and like you're just building this, like you're bringing them to a great experience in their life, and then you make an offer for something. It's like you're satisfying a craving that you just developed, and like some people would say that's almost manipulative, but it's just kind of like, no, I'm reminding them of something good. Or like if I find out somebody's a sports fan, I'm not going to sit there and just pull their chain about, oh yeah, they're great team. I'm going to actually talk to them, because I'm knowledgeable about a lot of sports. I'm going to talk to them about something really near and dear to them about that, because I earn credibility in the actual thing I'm trying to sell you, but also I show you I'm not like, just some guy that's just trying to impress you. I become real to you in the sense of that, like, wow, you really either fucking just, did a quick Google search and retained an entire fucking Wikipedia page, or you actually know this shit. And like, I'm even not afraid to argue with people about stuff that, they're near and dear about, because it's like, okay, like it shows a little bit of passion. It shows I'm not just a brown noser. I'm knowledgeable, and it's like rewarded a little bit. So I can, on the low end, get that. And I guess I need to harness more from you on this and start selling bigger things or making more money, I guess.
Well, hold on. I got to grab my extension cord real fast. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Take me 2 seconds. Probably as fast as it took me to grab this. Give me 1 second.
This is going to be a great episode for, again, this is going to be audio based, but I recommend it on YouTube for anybody, or YouTube going on the audio based. Maybe for me and David, there's a little too much to look at, or, to process, but there's a lot of good things on here that I'm getting. And like, especially where a lot of people have that side hustle of the bartender or server thing, or maybe that's just their actual occupation. But I'm hearing some great ways of getting about this. And it sounds like one of the things that doesn't happen is that nobody's just going through the motions. And I can tell you right now is that in my sales career, I've had times where I was just going through the motions, and I struggle in that. Like it perpetuates one thing after the other, where it's like, a negativity breeds a negativity or like that. But when the good times are rolling, ride that wave is kind of what I'm getting out of this. And, I'm going to now get David back here. I just kind of, or maybe I'm getting that back there, which I guess.
Almost. Yeah. Just give me 1 second. Just plugging this in.
This is literally me to a T right now. This guy's got probably God knows what's going on right now. It's just Pepsi, allegedly. I mean, again, said he never did cocaine or anything, but it's I believe him too. But it's just
Thank you.
He's definitely there's just this whole thing, David, is kind of as a segueing of it's just Pepsi that he's on.
No, I heard you. I heard you the whole time.
But okay, so you got that there. But there is. And this is kind of a thing of I'm able to now, the girl that I'm like very, very close with. Okay, yeah, you're low on battery because you did dim out just a little bit. I lost you on connection right now, so I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I'll kind of go on this a little bit. But waiting for him to get back here. No, this has been fun. It's been good stuff. Let's see, David. We'll get what's going on here. I'm just gonna kind of degen out. I got a soccer bet going on right now. Let's see how that's going. Oh, that's not going so well right now, I guess. Okay, well, it's been
no. I'm here.
All right, he's there. Okay, perfect. So so I well, we got you. We don't have video of you yet. I just got your audio on here. You probably got to click the video thing on the bottom of your tab there on the StreamYard link.
Yep.
So we'll get you back here.
Well, keep talking. I'm listening while you're doing that.
So what I was gonna say is that and this is kind of a big thing I'm getting from you, and is that. All right, perfect. I just I've in the past 2 weeks have started dating a woman, and it's like I've dated a lot, or I've met a lot of girls like that, but this one is very different in the sense of that we started off with a FaceTime call. Like when I said, "Can I call you?" or "Do you want to chat?" Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was gonna be a FaceTime. I thought it was just gonna be a over the phone thing. And there's an energy that she picked up from me over the phone. And like, that's energy and almost an aura, as she describes it, is why she's quite enamored with me. And I kind of get it back from her as well, too. So that's why we have this good connection, which hopefully continues to keep going. I just kind of get the same from you, is that there's an energy that is coming from you that I think that I can understand how all of this works out for you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I hope that's a good thing.
No, it is. I just use it on myself. So, I mean, I'd be saying something negative about myself in the process, but.
Well, what I was saying, like this, check this out. For sales stuff for you. I used to do what I would do. I did real estate for a little while, and it was fun. It was actually kind of fun. But so anyway,
back when mortgages were at a reasonable rate.
Oh, I know. Good God. What I would do is when I went to on an appointment, first time I'm sitting down meeting them, I would leave something in the car, right? Something pertinent that I would need, but I would leave it in the car. And I would sit down and talk to them for a few minutes. They'd give me the tour of the house and show me around and da-da-da-da-da. And then we would sit down and we'd start talking. A little bit of small talk here and there, which is just a nightmare for me. I can't do small talk for shit. And I would say, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I left my planner in the car. I'm going to run out and grab it real fast. They'll say, okay. And here's where it happens. I run out the door, and I come running back in. And as soon as I walk in that door, the very second I grab that door and open it up, as soon as I walk over that threshold, their opinion of me has changed. Why?
Because you've shown some efforts and that you care, maybe? Is that
Well, that's certainly part of it, yeah. But why else?
I
what
guess
perception of me? How could their perception of me? How could their perception of me have changed just by me going outside and walking right back in?
They've had some time to. Hey, what do you like this guy? I'm curious. I'm legitimately. I don't know the answer to this one. You got me stumped, which I usually don't like being.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
No. I'm not. Trust me, I'm not bothered by it.
It was the fact that I opened the door myself. I didn't ring the doorbell. I didn't knock on the door. I walked in. All right. Why?
Assertiveness.
No. Well, yes, absolutely that. But also, a friend doesn't knock. A friend doesn't ring the doorbell. A friend walks right back in. All right. Every single time I did that, I got the sale. Almost religiously. All right. It's very stupid. It's very small, but it's another one of the tactics that I gleaned from Persuasion from Robert Cialdini. Okay.
Which you sent me that video. You're like, you better watch this or we're going to have issues like that. And then I clicked on the thing. I'm like, Jesus, buddy, it's fucking 10 hours long. Like, like even if I watch this at double speed, that's still freaking, like,
Well, no, it's just the audiobook. It's just the audiobook.
Right. No, but I was listening to it a little bit, and I was kind of in the beginning, why do I do that extra thing for somebody? And I was trying to listen to it actually while I was at work to tune out some of the negativity that can happen in some of those settings, because that is the part I was getting there is that, like the positivity breeds the positivity. I always had the thing of ride the wave, but when you're going through the motions and you're struggling, it's going to continue to keep struggling. You're never just going to, you're hoping to be saved. Guess what? You're not going to get saved. You got to save yourself in that regard. So you got to, turn around and it's somehow the messenger is going about it where some people are like, oh, you just got to change your mindset. Like hearing it said like that is freaking, when it's preachy, it doesn't hit with me. If somebody freaking, like I have a good example with a good friend of mine where he was going through some little struggles or like that. And we were walking on eggshells around him because he seemed like it was a little fragile. And one day I just had enough of it. I'm like, dude, you got to stop being a little fucking bitch. Just fucking get grow the fuck up, like kind of this. And I thought it was like a dagger to him at the times. He fucking really was bawling his eyes out. And then like a couple months later, things had been improving. He's like, dude, that was one of the best things that ever happened.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of like, it's like, I didn't want to have to be that way with you. It's just, we tried everything else that didn't work, like.
Oh, for me, it was different. Cause I'm not afraid of libraries. I love libraries. Oh, libraries and bookstores are my favorite places.
You're quiet enough in those places?
Oh God. Oof. No, actually, they usually. I have books scattered everywhere around me. I always feel bad. I was gonna have to tip the attendant like, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad. But and so reading about this stuff and learning this stuff I love to do it. And so for me, I was trying to find what is the problem? Where am I the moment when I was 3 on the swing.
Which describe that one. You described that to me. The listeners would not know this, but that was very, very deep, actually.
Yeah, when I was 3 years old, I was rocking back and forth on a swing, and I was saying the word products, kind of whispering it in the ASMR fashion, and it wasn't making me happy. It was making me angry, like visceral angry, and I didn't know why. And all of a sudden, like a lightning bolt, I was able to just extrapolate out what was going to happen. I knew that there was something wrong. I wasn't going to explain why this was happening, why these words, the way it was being said, the way it was making me angry. There were other things that I couldn't explain, how I like to go down rabbit holes and stay in them. Like when I get into a project, just leave me alone for days. And I'm 3 years old. I'm wondering about these things. And it all happened like in an eighth of a second. And I knew, oh my God, I'm going to end up having to go to the edge of the abyss to try to figure out how to explain this to people. And that, because I didn't know what it was. I had no idea if the problem was with the outside world or if it was with me. So I spent my whole entire life trying to figure this out. And it led me down the worst path possible, to addiction. Because the masking, that I had to do starting at 3 years old was just, it was overwhelming. And like normally right now, I would be very masked and just calm, but I'm trying to be just as open and normal as I.
Yeah, I appreciate that too.
Oh, cool. I just don't want to look too weird, but
don't worry.
So
you're on my show. I'm the weird one.
All right. So I just wanted to, I was stuck. I was stuck trying to figure out what the problem was. Why was I constantly barraged with these things when I would be around people of thoughts and ideas and why am I seeing patterns that other people aren't seeing? And even touch on geopolitical patterns that I'm seeing, and economic patterns, and marketing patterns, all these things that I'm seeing that nobody seems to be seeing. And my father, little did I know, my father was having a lot of the same issues, just he didn't have the ADHD. He just had Asperger's. So he was just a very kind of a cold guy, but I mean, he was a very loving guy, but very cold, very stoic. And so talking to him about it was pretty much off limits. And so I had no idea what was wrong. No idea. Slamming into walls, right and left. Things that I would get right, I would get like tremendously right. Like, hey, oh my God, my bartender just made $10,000. Woohoo! You know, things I'm doing are working, but there are other things that are not working at all. And it was. I felt like I was going through life thinking 2 + 2 = 5. All right, that's kind of what it felt like. And then at 41, I'd lost everything, man. I mean, I was up there, man. I had money. Lost everything. Sitting in my apartment, in my garage, that I was like a makeshift office. I told my wife, I said, I'm putting my feet down, babe. I'm not taking another goddamn step, not getting a job, not doing anything until I figure out what the hell is wrong. And she said, all right, you got to do what you got to do. And about 4 months into it, I sat there. I'd had clues to this, but I didn't think Asperger's, you know. I kept getting like sociopath, but I'm like, no, I have empathy for everybody. What the hell's going on? None of this makes sense. No shoe fit. And I had looked at Asperger's a little bit, but I'm like, just the name itself bothered me, you know. And then the word
it's not
syndrome.
a pleasant sounding name.
No, it's not. You know, I mean, God, Eric Cartman makes fun of it. Come on.
That's kind of where I first got introduced to it, I think, to be honest with you.
And so I was like, the syndrome thing, that bothered me. I'm like, I don't like that either. Come on. So I just blew it off. And so finally, you know, one night I was sitting in the garage about 3:30 in the morning. Hot as hell, man. It was like June or July. Sweating my ass off, and I'm reading. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. And I started to get sick. Like, holy shit. I started to hyperventilate. So I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is problem solved. You know, this is a big problem, but it's a problem. And I was like, all right, I feel like I'm going to pass out because I was hyperventilating. So I went to go down like, you know, like get out of the chair just in case I pass out so I don't fall. As I was going down, I just puked everywhere. I couldn't believe it. And took me about 15 minutes, cleaned myself up, cleaned the mess up. And 3:30 in the morning, woke my wife up and said, hey, babe, I figured it out. I have Asperger's. This has got to be what it is. And then I went to a therapist, everything later on. It was all confirmed later. And then, but there was still still the missing piece. And then it was the ADHD. My cousin Tommy has the exact same condition I have, the exact same mix that I have. And apparently, and I didn't know this was all unbeknownst to me, is this had run through my mom's whole entire side and on my dad's side. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This whole time, you guys, we knew there was something here, but, you know, come on. And they just never put it together. I mean, plus back then, Asperger's wasn't a thing, you know, and I resent when people say it's, you know, autism, because it's not. I mean, to me, it's not. You know, it's just, I just look at the world a little bit differently. That's it. You know, I can zoom out and zoom in faster than other people. That's it. You know, and I can size people up faster because I have to. And it's just out of necessity. It's all been out of necessity. So when that crash happened, I mean, dude, it ruined everything. I lost everything. Lost my wife. You know, after I figured this out, she left me. Oh yeah, it was a hoot, boy. It was a hoot. So.
Jeez. Well, I mean, but ultimately, maybe you know, I hate saying this, but maybe that was kind of a, you know, maybe a good thing, because if you know, you were gonna have to keep living being something that you weren't comfortable with, I guess, you know, and that was I don't, you know, not necessarily. I want to ask you a question, just because I mean, again, I feel like there's a lot of parallels between you and I on this one. When you were a social guy or out and about, did you have one group you hung out with, or did you kind of bounce around from place to place with, you know, kind of like, did you ever attach yourself to one group, or did you kind of bounce around? Because that's kind of what I did, where in some cases, like I would, like, you know, how I would, you know, I was always somebody when I was out partying where I was trying to have fun. I didn't think I was having as much fun as everybody else, because I still, no matter how much I was drinking like that, still wanted to have deep kind of conversations. They're like, hey, did you notice this? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And like, and I'm identifying with this a lot bit, because sometimes, I mean, I've always wondered if that, you know, some similar things that, am I crazy? Like, because I don't think I make sense to people, but I make sense to me, which is what some people would say makes you crazy. And then I'm like, and, you know, you kind of been like, okay, there's this kind of other thing going on there, where doesn't mean I'm not, but I just kind of remember in my sake when I quit drinking, actually, I went to a detox clinic, and I remember like they were all big on like, what rehab do you want to go to? And I'm like, no, I don't. As I kept telling people, I was like, I don't think it's rehab that I need. I mean, obviously I do need to keep drinking, but my biggest fear is that I quit drinking and all these other problems that led me to drinking still exist. Like I need to and I know somebody, close was like, yeah, that's the first thing is to remove the alcohol, then see what you're left with or like that.
Yeah.
And in my case, it was talking to a therapist, which actually almost ended kind of confrontationally. I did like a phone chat, which I never fucking paid the bill for, I guess. This guy basically told me, and I have a friend that works in clinical like services, works as a social worker, and he's like, I could describe you to 7 people and get 7 different diagnoses.
I can believe that,
and the guy kind of hit on me, and my buddy had kind of mentioned this, is that you said you're hypermanic. Where it's like, just kind of a hyperglycemic person, their blood sugar can kind of spike or like that. And in my case, I thought I was putting out the fire by drinking, and really I was just pouring gasoline on it, which was just that causing it. And I would have these like every couple of years, it would be like everything's going great, because if you can harness in that mania, sometimes you can be a very, very productive person. Until it spills over, and then you're just left in this fucking puddle, basically, which is what happened with me, I guess I would say. So once I kind of heard that, it at least made sense to me, is that, okay, now I know why I need to not do this. That's been the big reminder of me, is that I do still kind of run into those circumstances. And it's a big thing of, what do I do? What are the things that make this worse? And like, just recently I've had to, like, I mix up decaf and regular coffee now, because it's like, okay, like I still like to drink coffee. I love that. I can't have that shot of whiskey anymore, but I love that fresh brewed cup of coffee. Something that hits you, like,
moves you away a little bit, moves you away, pulls you off.
It's that thing to look forward to. It's that, it was made specially for me. It was poured specially for me, whatever it may be. It's something more than water. It's not something that,
it's a bump. It's the bump. It's the bump.
Something, kind of like when I quit smoking cigarettes. I just remember me and my buddies, we went to the Belmont Stakes one year when there was a Triple Crown candidate, California Chrome. And I just remember waking up having that feeling of, when you smoke 2 packs of cigarettes in one day and you're ripping fucking, drinks and whatnot. Yeah. I just had that, I just never want to feel this again. I remember walking in, probably in the most least pleasant mood ever, walking into the vape shop that had opened up in town, just being like, just give me the fucking cheapest thing you have here.
Yep.
And just whatever juice or whatever it is you do. I don't even know what I'm doing. And they're like trying to talk to me. I'm like, I don't have the mental wherewithal to comprehend anything. I just want to try this thing, and I'll give it a week. And if not, I'll save them. It's going to be the same I was going to spend on cigarettes. And if it works, I'll keep coming back. And then I'd say, now I used to love a cigarette. Now, honestly, I mean, the smell of them kind of turns me off now. I mean,
me too.
And I don't know if it's because they made the flame retardant ones, where like they now, like in New York, they have ones that go out if you don't take a drag off so while.
Same thing here.
They don't have that same taste to them anymore.
No, they don't. They taste funny.
I used to love the taste of for a little while, it was Camel Lights for me, or Marlboro Lights. And I used to think too, I could tell a lot about a person based on the cigarettes that they smoked.
Yep.
And then you're a Marb Light smoker. That you I would have guessed that if you told me you smoke cigarettes. By the way,
I actually used to smoke Winston's. So
Winston's, no, that was probably in your Hellraiser days.
Yes, yeah.
That was actually.
I was following whatever my dad smoked. I don't know why.
So. Well, that's because that was your best supplier.
Always. Come on.
Yeah.
But no, I'm sorry. Go on. I'm interrupting.
No, I just laughed. I was just laughing myself that you and I both used the same, like, okay, where do I trace that thought, and said the same thing. There's a lot of similarities with us in that regards. Well, but
I usually stick to the same people. I don't. In my book, I was talking about one of the chapters is about. It's called "The Birth of the Evil Force." Oh boy, that I fell in with the burnouts. Right away, instantly right in with that crowd.
Burnouts, pot smokers, you mean?
No, just smokers.
Okay.
And long-haired guys, heavy metal guys. And I used to have real long hair and all that shit. And
probably could be a front man in a heavy metal group if you. Based on your hair.
Well, I'm a guitar player too, so. And so it worked. They weren't judgmental, and it just, I need that to be able to feel comfortable. I need to be able to, my friends would always say, hey, let's go to another bar other than your bar. I was like, fine. And I always hated it. Because I don't know anyone. I feel uncomfortable. It's not my wheelhouse at all. Yeah.
You're out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. I mean, I don't mind being outside of my. I actually do enjoy it. It's the ADHD in me that does enjoy being outside of my comfort zone.
But it sounds like there's that piece you may have been conscious of, like, how am I going to come across to this new group of people?
Exactly. Theory of mind. I mean, it just destroys me right at that point. Like, yes, how am I going to come across to these people? And a lot of times I was just so angry, I didn't care. I didn't give a shit how I came across to anybody. The world just, plus also with this condition is what's going on in my head is a lot more real than what's happening out here because I'm that in my head. Okay. I'm not saying that, I'm living a life in my head. I'm saying that my imagination, the way my mind works, it's more real in here than it is anything out here.
Your thoughts keep manifesting deeper thoughts.
Oh yeah. And, so when I get outside my comfort zone, it just throws that whole world upside down, just puts that whole world upside down. But I do enjoy it sometimes because I need to shake it up a little bit. It's like, like, when you're playing those, like you're playing the game with the letters and you scramble the letters, try to figure out what the words are, like anagram games kind of a thing. You scramble the letters. Well, when you re-scramble the letters, you get new ideas. And so I'm like, all right, yeah, every now and again, you got to shake the globe up.
There's always the one word that's fucking so obvious, but you can't get it.
Yes, yeah, a lot like that. Yeah, it just kind of shakes it loose for you, And I'm always looking for stuff like that. I'm always trying to find people that are higher up the ladder than me, so I can try to learn a little bit more. So in that regard, yes, you want to stick me outside of my comfort zone, great. But as far as like my friends, I only have one friend. I haven't had friends. I have acquaintances. Trying to think. No, I just have one friend. I have one friend.
That's something I've learned over the years too, is that, I do have people I can call and talk with and stuff like that, but they're not people. I understand that, where it's like, I feel close-ish to somebody. And I think it's like a way I would describe this is that, like, I was somebody who would get invited to the wedding, but not be in the groom's party, even though I maybe spend as much time with everybody kind of thing. Or it's like, that's like the proximity I kind of kept. So that's kind of why I said the group thing, where it's like, I would very rarely call people to hang out. It's just, if I showed up at a place, this is the group I'm going to hang out with that night, I guess, like,
yeah.
That's kind of why I mentioned what I mentioned there. Like,
wait, what do you mean? Like, explain that last part again. I'm sorry.
So, like, if the town I lived in when I was in my heyday, I guess we'll call it, like, there's quite a few different bars, and it's like, okay, like, based on who was bartending would be why I would go where I would go, kind of thing. Like, okay, I like the bartender there. So I would go to the place I would, and it's like, okay, I walked in there. Those are the guys I'm going to gravitate towards tonight. But I would never call them to be like, hey, you going to be there tonight? Like, it's just kind of like, the people I would kind of, do that with. So I guess I can kind of see that one a little bit. And I guess I would go, the weird thing is that I actually enjoyed sometimes, like, I kind of was in some senses uncomfortable. I mean, inside I maybe had a little bit of anxiety, but I kind of like the idea of that. I kind of didn't necessarily fit the look of any of my other friends necessarily, as far as I'd always would be like a guy in a button-up shirt, wearing a pea coat kind of thing or whatever like that. I had like my own little look, but I could I love when I could mix it up. Like, I used to drink with a fucking former Hell's Angel, like, and it's like, and people be like, yo, you got to watch out. I'm like, this guy's saying he's got to watch out for me. Like, like, I fucking have won him over. Like, like,
jeez, oh man. No, for me, like, drinking was more of a utility, I guess. Like going out and partying was more of a utility. Usually what we would do for the longest time, God, a big part of my 30s, I think I went out 4 times in my 30s, went out to drink. And the only time I did was to, I'd bring a couple of my bartenders with me, my manager, Ruben, a couple of the bartenders. We'd play Test the Bartender. And we actually, it was funny, there's a place called Waves, of all places, a place called Waves on Lake St. Clair here. You know who Tawny Peaks is?
Tawny Peaks? No, I do not.
Never heard of the porn star Tawny Peaks?
I mean, I've heard of a lot of porn stars. I'm not gonna try and tell you that lie. I just don't know who she is.
Well, I mean, that's like Tawny
I'm
Peaks
sure I've
is
seen
like,
her work. I've watched fucking, I mean, as a joke in my stand-up, I've watched so much porn, I fucking actually it improved my spelling abilities.
yeah.
I know how to spell some of those tricky words like amateur, bukkake, and grandma, because there's a D in grandma. Not a lot of people know that. In fact, there's a D in grandma is the title of one of my favorite movies ever. Boom, got it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, no, she, her name, first name is Miss Lee. I want to say that she always laughs because I messed it up. She was a bartender, apparently. She had stopped doing porn, and she was a bartender there. You wouldn't recognize her. I mean, good luck. You have no clue who this girl is. Sit there, boobs taped down, hair all back, not a lot of makeup on, in a real tight bun. And she's just a great bartender. And me and a couple of my bartenders went there one night. She just happened to be in the bar. I didn't know. And I'm teaching her, we're telling her some of our tip tactics, and she's making some money off of her. Like, see, that's how it works. And she introduced herself to me. I was like, oh my God, so cool to meet you. It's so cool. I asked if she used, I said, the thing I was happy about is that she didn't use her tits and ass to do it. She used her head to do it. She didn't want to use tits and ass to do it. And that's what I was really attracted to that. I thought that was really cool. And not attracted to, but that's like mine. And so I would go there a lot to try to, show my bartenders, like, we would play test the bartender, all right? If a bartender drinks or gives something away, the bartender's dog shit, all right? I'm sorry, it just is what it is, all right? And because it's the only way they know how to get money, all right, is to give something away, all right? Don't give shit away. Find a better way. There's another way to do it. And we figured out the way. And it's the cure for cancer that tastes like chocolate milk, for Christ's sakes. And we would play test the bartender, and she knew what we were doing. We would come in, it was just like 2 or 3 of us, and we would try to get the bartender to drink. If the bartender did a shot with us, we knew who we were dealing with. And the bartender wouldn't get fired or anything like that, but I was trying to prove the point to illustrate. I was like, okay, if that bartender does the shot with us, we know what we're looking at, so let's continue to watch her behavior the rest of the night, and this is what we'll see. His or her behavior, this is what we'll see. And it would unfold. And so that's, with that type of thing, as far as like going out and drinking. Other than that, Saturday nights, I was dating a girl at the time, Kristen. She was a teacher. You ever dated a teacher?
Teachers were some of the big, in my drinking days, teachers and lawyers were some of the biggest fucking booze hounds out there.
They are insane, dude.
And I think it's because what happens with them is that they get into a job thinking they're going to make a difference, and they find out that the fucking world is stacked against them to do it.
Yep. Oh, I know. Oh my God. Rube, my assistant manager, he's a teacher. He's like, dude, I wish I'd have never done this. But
but they've already invested so much time and money into it that they kind of fucking feel they need to validate. It's like
that's what he said. He said exactly that. And she was a junior high school teacher. And teachers are notoriously, guys and girls are notoriously, screw it, slutty. That's the best way to put it, slutty. And
I mean, the only reason we have that title of this is because we live in a fucking Christian society for the most part.
Yes.
I mean, over in Europe, you're just a regular person.
Yeah. Well, so she would, I don't think that has any bearing on it. It's just that she was a really cool person. She didn't act like a teacher when she hung around us, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And so I'd go over to her house, me and my staff, because she wound up befriending my assistant manager, Barney. Jesse is her name, Barney, at the time. And so we all just kind of grouped together, and we would go over there every Saturday night, the whole staff. They didn't have to. You guys want to. This is what we're doing. This is what we do. And it's kind of like the movie Waiting, but it's not. All right. We would all sit there in a big circle, and it just happened that way. We didn't plan it. It just started that way. We'd sit there in a big circle, all of us with our little, whatever drinks we would buy. We'd just be drinking a little bit, just sitting there. Oh, man. Then finally someone say, can you believe that guy tipped me $500? Can you fucking believe that? And boom, the whole room goes. And everybody starts sharing their stories of how they did it, what worked, what didn't, how to bomb with the customers faster. And they just sat there we'd sit there till like 8 o'clock in the morning, just talking, just sitting in a circle, getting drunk, laughing and talking about how to work the system better and how to make everything better for like the customers and ourselves. And because of it, something spawned, something grew from this. All right. And because of the mistakes that I made, I couldn't get this way of doing it out to the world. All right. A lot of the bars around me, they hated me. They teased me, dogged us. Oh, it's a Locker Room Saloon, place with the drumsticks. Oh, place of shitholes. Do you not understand? That's part of the shtick, man. That's part of it. All right. We didn't just, well, let's take $1 million and redo the place. We said, nah, dude, let's work with what we've got. And that's what we did.
So you got to ask you, the place with the drumsticks. So you just gave people drumsticks so they could like tap on the bar, like it was a drum pad, or what's going on with that?
I'll tell you how it happened. I'll tell you how it happens.
Well, I mean, was that the use for the drumsticks, I guess, or should I be cutting your stuff there?
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. Because I love telling the story. It's such a good story. My dad was, I want to say, like 1984. No, 1983. Been open for about a year and a half. We were an oldies bar, and at the time, oldies bars didn't exist, so we were just an anthill. All right. My dad always had the knack of like knowing what was good for the time, and we just exploded. And so it was during the day. My dad's like, man, we need to do something with the happy hours. Man, nothing's going on with these damn happy hours. And so there was a group of construction workers that come in, and one of the guys, Fat Tony, so Fat Tony was his name, and he had a block of wood. And he started boom, 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 like tapping on the bar to the music. And my dad sees, he goes, hey. And Fat Tony was like, oh, thinking he's in trouble. My dad's like, hey, Tony, next time you come in, bring 30 more of those with you, those little blocks. Bring 30 more of them with you. All right. So the very next day, Tony comes in with like 50 of these damn things. My dad passed them out to all the customers on the bar, and he had the DJ, Rose, play Queen, We Will Rock You, on the bar. And my dad's like, oh, God damn it. We got to do something with this. My dad's a drummer. And so he was like, well, we can't afford drumsticks for everybody, so we got to figure something out. So he started looking around, and finally found them. Dowel rods, okay? Just little tiny dowel rods, big, long dowel, cut them into foot-long pieces and pass two out to everybody that walk in the door. Little drumsticks about that big. Little sticks, and they're loud. They're actual, boom, 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 boom. Not as heavy as an actual drumstick, but they make noise, all right? The cool part is this. You can't steal it. No one can steal this idea because no one is going to allow customers to destroy their establishment the way we did. All right.
There's some places not just kidding around.
And people used to laugh like you're passing out weapons to people. And I'm like, yeah, apparently, but
a beer bottle's a fucking weapon. A glass is a weapon.
Thank you. Drumstick's just an annoyance when somebody throws it across the bar, but who
you want out of there.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but that's how the sticks developed. And it's one of those things that it's sticky. Okay. It was sticky before sticky even existed. And my old man always had a knack for finding the sticky things like that. And they just, after that, it stuck. And that's what we've been known for ever since. That, the standing on the bar stools, the bottle flipping, all that stuff. Back actually in when we started bottle flipping was in 89. And
Cocktail come out by that point.
Yeah, it was right as Cocktail came out.
Because I also was thinking when the cigarette trick Cocktail popped in my head as well too.
My dad, he was having a meeting with staff, and he's like, let's get the hell out of here. Let's go see that stupid Cocktail movie. Let's get the hell out of here. Go see a movie. It's one of the things my dad would do all the time. My dad would just out of nowhere just tell the whole staff, all right, guys, we're going to Aruba. Let's go. And he would take the whole staff to Aruba. So one day he's like, let's go to the movies. So they go to the movies. They come back. By the time they came back, they had the whole idea mapped out, everything, and they had already had the first two songs that we were going to choreograph the shows to were already set, stoned, and off we went. And it took off from there. At the time, at Fridays, if you flipped a bottle of Fridays, you got fired just like that. Yeah, we were the first bartender, the first bar in Michigan to flip bottles. We were the we changed the law for karaoke in the state. For some other formats, so like we were the first bar to do karaoke. My dad had been trying to do karaoke since like 86, 87, something like that. In his own way, we put microphones all along the bar, like, microphone every like 4 or 5 feet. So when the music came on, if the DJ wanted, he could flip the switch and the microphones are on. Customers could grab it and sing to the music. All right. And this was before karaoke, So we were kind of always on the edge of that sort of thing. And so the sticks were just the next really good idea. So if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. You separate it. You got. If you're just a regular dive bar, you got to have something different to it. There's a dive bar in every fucking block in America.
Yes. That's what. We're like a dive bar with a pulse or something like that, and
dive bar with character was what I was going to describe it as.
Well, I mean, did you get a chance to watch any of the videos on YouTube at all?
I was the one I got through about like a half an hour. The one thing on there, it's been a bit of a hectic weekend for me. So I will watch that. And actually, what I do when I post this episode, I'm going to put a link to that so that people will be drawn in to watch this episode.
Well, when you said a half hour of what? Like the video?
The Robert Calavari, whatever the hell his name is.
No. I meant our video of the bar.
Oh yeah, no, I hadn't gotten to that one yet because I know the way you said it, you made it seem like you were going to punch me in the face if I didn't watch the one video. So I kind of went focused on that one a little bit. And I mean, I think I talked to you on like Friday night maybe or Thursday night where I kind of, the weekends for me are a little bit, there's the 24 hours in a day model doesn't quite work for me. I did get an extra hour the other day, but the lady friend kind of ate into that.
Well, actually, if you want, pull it up right now. You can actually watch it while we're sitting here talking, so you get an idea what I'm talking about.
All right, so
type in Locker Room Saloon and tell me the titles you get.
Locker Room Saloon. So I'm going to go onto my. I have my personal account, and then I have my show's account. So I'm going to go to the personal ones. I have YouTube Premium on that one. So Locker Room Saloon. Yep. Okay, we got this here. And I got the Locker Room Saloon. I mean, I got just one from 15 years ago. Behind the Moccasin Saloon I'm seeing here. I mean, there's quite a few names, but I'm seeing. There's some shorts here. Locker Room Saloon Mannequin Challenge.
That was a good one, but no. Hold on.
That was. I mean, they're all quick ones. So here.
Hold on.
I'm watching this. Okay, This is. I like
the
low roofs. It's got like a Fremont in Vegas kind of feel to it.
Do the one that says Locker Room Saloon, and the user is Philip Pittman.
Philip Pittman. Okay. Yep, right here. Locker Room Saloon. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I got the logo on there. There's some blonde girl to start it off with, 34 years. And they're just kind of flashing one question. What did you do last weekend? And I'm seeing like what looks like an amazing. I'm seeing the shots being poured all at once there, which is, again, I've seen many times before, but it sounds like this might have been a Genesis thing. And by the way, I mean, 3.4K views on this from a guy with 2 subscribers is pretty intense, I must say.
Well, I mean, this is
love this bar. Go as an amazing bartender. GQ. It was downright badass. Google review from Austin Rowling. Best birthday ever. Oh, Oz kicked ass hard. That's Oz right there. This seems like that it was like Girls Gone Wild before they took their clothes off.
Yeah, kind of, but they didn't.
But everyone's got a drumstick in their hand. It's a dive bar, but people are partying like it's a nightclub. It's not a glow stick; it's a drumstick.
Yes,
that's kind of what I got out of that one.
And everything is audience participation. We lead you through the whole entire night. Okay, nothing that happens to you isn't already scripted out. You don't know it, but it's all scripted, and that's the trick of it, was to make it feel unscripted, where all the chaos, you're like, oh my God, what the hell's going on in this place? When in fact, we knew exactly every single thing we were doing.
No one stopped in for just a quiet drink is what I'm gathering.
No, we were absolutely a destination bar.
Okay.
Always a destination bar. God, our bachelor parties were legendary. I had,
how many of them actually ended in marriages?
I know. I'm like, well, how many ended up in divorce, man? Jeez, oh man. But no, it was just so much fun watching these girls just. I mean, this is their night. You know what I mean? They're going to remember this forever. And we always try to do, okay, the blowjob chair. I'm gonna get flack for this. The blowjob chair. All right.
It's,
girl,
I mean, well, hopefully not, but let's go because I want this
all
episode
right.
to see the light of day. But no, keep going. I'll if it's bad, I'll
All
edit
right.
it out. But
No, it's not like that. It's a shot.
Okay.
It's a shot.
Oh, okay,
Right?
okay.
So there's a chair behind the bar. Okay, it's called the blowjob chair. All right, and it's an old school dentist chair with hydraulics. Everything raises up. It's already on a pedestal, but then it raises up even further. All right, so if it's a bachelorette party, all right, man, time for the blowjob chair. All right, Janet, time for Janet to get to the chair. Janet, bring all your friends back there. Bring the cameras back there. So they all these girls all flooded back behind the bar. All right. Bartender puts her in the chair. Lights go on. Spotlight's down on her. The bartender straddles her, and up they go real high, so everybody in the bar can see him. He's got 2 bottles. Guys, on the count of 3, everybody yell blowjob. Everybody go 1, 2, 3. Everybody yell blowjob. And then he pours, and while he's pouring, we'll play like Oh Yeah by Yellow from the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like the end.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that song will be playing, and it kind of comes down. Wait for it. Oh, she swallowed, because then he pours a little bit.
You actually just had is that the one where he's jumping off? That's the song that's playing in the background, because you just had your hands up, and I just pictured Matthew Broderick when he's jumping over like the fence or whatever.
Yes,
like
probably.
Yes.
Well, he pours a little bit into her mouth, and he always tells the girl, like before she does it, hey, I'm just pouring. The girl knows this is for show. Nobody else knows this, but she knows this is for show. Tell her, look, we're just going to pour a little bit in your mouth, and if it's too much, just tap me, and I'll stop. She'll say, okay, I'm just going to do a little bit of whipped cream. It's mostly for show. She's like, all right. So that's what she knows, but everybody else sees this big show. She's up, and we do a little bit of whipped cream. Wait for it. She swallowed. Yeah. All these spinning lights go off. The air raid siren goes off, and the place goes nuts. Great, right? Cool. Now, my favorite part is when the the bachelor party decided to bring grandma, right? Grandma or mom, all right? And I would always say this, like if the bachelor gets a little lippy, like right in the front, because I'm on a stage talking to these people, and I'll say, okay, is your mom's with you? Your mom's with you, Janet? Yeah, is that your mom? Oh, hey, mom. Hey, Janet, your mom and dad still have sex, right? You know that, right? I don't know if you know that. I mean, when you go home, your mom's probably going to do your dad when she gets home tonight. Come on. She wigs out. So you know what, Janet, you went to the chair. Yeah, we got to put mom in the chair. What do you guys think? Should we put mom in the chair? Everybody goes nuts. Now, a grandmother, a mom or a grandmother, right into that chair, and the bartender gets on top of her and does a shot. People just go nuts for this, go absolutely berserko for it. And it's sticky. Like I said, sticky. And everybody just loved taking pictures of it. And we never wanted to go like past the line of good taste as far as sexual or,
right.
Like
innuendos are fine.
Exactly. Don't whip your boobs out. No, well, you just saw my bra. No, keep your shirt down, man. Come on,
Have some taste.
Exactly.
This isn't that kind of place.
Yes, that was the point. It looks that way, but it's not that way.
We're going to push the envelope as far as it can go before it tips over the edge.
Exactly. And what was funny is when we opened up the other bar out in Livonia, it was the exact same thing. Okay. And I was told my dad, I said, look, because we had a stigma there for a while, when I took it over, I had to battle a stigma. And nothing bad, it's just a dork stigma. And so I had to change it. So I told my dad, I said, look, if we took this bar, changed the name, moved 3 miles down the road, we'd be the busiest bar in town. Trust me. He said, well, you better prove it with this place first. I said, all right. So we blew it up. I said, all right, let's satellite out. So we satellited out to another place out in Livonia. And Livonia is it's a wealthy area. Okay. And so because of it, now I started to get flooded with like Major League Baseball players and football players and sports people and things like that. Entertainment people would come in, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then all of a sudden it was the Metro Times. We were voted the trendiest bar in Michigan. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is the trendiest. Well, I mean, the thing is this. Okay. Do you know the song Talk Dirty to Me by Poison?
Yeah.
Okay. We actually have a dance. I think it's a great tune too. We have a dance to it that we do.
I used to play it on the jukebox all the time at the bar I hung out at.
Dude, I'll teach you today. Dude, watch the video. You'll see our dance. Dude, we have a dance to it. I actually gave a DVD to Bret Michaels once when I was on his tour bus. I was laughing with him about it. I'm like, dude, you're not going to believe this, man. I've been dying to like give this to you ever since we made all this stuff, man. You're going to laugh your ass off. Well, the funny part was just this, every time I go to a Poison concert, I always try to get as close to the front row as I can, because when they do talk dirty to me, I'll turn around and I'll look, and you'll see big swaths of people doing our dance. And I'm like, there it is, yes. And so I always thought that was the coolest thing. So one year, it was off to the side of the stage at Pine Knob, or DTE, whatever the hell it's called right now. I think it's back to Pine Knob here in Detroit. There's a group of girls off to the right on the stage, and they're doing our dance. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, it's reached that far. So when I met him, I was like, look, I don't know if you know about, he's like, yes, what is this stupid dance that these stupid girls are doing? What is this? I said, here's the DVD, man. I said, this is where it all started, brother. And I gave it to him. He's
That's
like, oh,
fucking
my God.
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
When the rock band can't even make something out of it, that you made it out for them. That's and you know what I just kind of realized with this one? Like, I kind of compared your place, and this is like a low end comparison. Like, but like, I just kind of know. I mean, I'm not saying like a bad thing, but it's like it's kind of like going to a hibachi restaurant. It sounds like, because let's face it, you're eating the same fucking food that you get at the Chinese place around the or not just Japanese and Chinese, but you're eating rice and fucking meat that was cooked in front of you. But because the guy was fucking shooting fucking sake in your mouth, and now it's had a little flair with this, which, I mean, realistically, if you have enough time at any job, you can figure out how to do that kind of stuff. I mean, like, not to diminish what they do, but it's an experience. It's more than just eating food.
Yes, and that was the trick, And so with these dances, everybody teased us. It's like, girls love doing it, like Grease Lightning. Yes, I have a staff full of guys standing up to go Grease, doing the whole dance, leading all these girls through it, and it worked. It worked, and sometimes, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man, this made me laugh. Vargas was probably about 6'3", close to about 300 pounds. Okay, chubby guy. Couldn't get laid anywhere. Just not gonna happen. Okay, in there. As a bartender, the guy is fighting him off with a stick. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, there it is, guys.
He's a rock star. It sounds like you guys were literally putting on. It was a rock concert you didn't know you walked into. Like the
pretty
whole
much,
kind of thing. Like, where you're in command of the party. And put it this way, that's why people join bands. To, to be the pulse of the room, I guess, kind of thing. I mean, I was even just thinking of right now, the last time I did a paying stand-up gig, the easiest part about it was the guy bombed before me. And then I went on. I'm like, well, I mean, like, I hate saying this, but it couldn't get much worse than that. And I went up there, and I found that there was a bachelorette party in the front row there, and I just literally did crowd work on them, because you can just throw anything you want out there. And then, sure enough, afterwards, some woman who, I mean, I guess she was married or like that, but maybe I wasn't misreading things, but some woman who actually, I mean, has a very prominent Instagram account for, and I'm not going to name her.
Okay.
But I'll text it to you afterwards. But she was there, and like, I'm like, kind of like, she made a joke at me about one of my jokes or whatever like that. And I'm kind of like, yo, this girl is like, and she's sitting, all of a sudden she's sitting across from me at the, I'm like, people like, oh, do you want to come have drinks with us afterwards? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, all because I just really became a part of this party. And this girl was not part of this party. She just watched me become part of the party, like, kind of thing. And that's that feeling of being on stage in some capacity, whatever be, whether with a music or a mic or, however, that's, kind of, you're in control of the room.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I liked that, but I didn't like that so much. I mean,
well, because for you, when you do it over and over again, it kind of loses it. That was like a one-off for me in that case. When you're doing this all the time, you do anything enough, you get sick of it, I guess, is kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, it took me a while to get sick of it. I mean, sick of it is something different.
I might have been an extreme example, but you're kind of going through the motions in what you're doing a little bit. You're starting to feign the enthusiasm, I guess I would say.
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
where,
okay, been there, done this.
Punchlines are. Yeah, you know where the punches are. You know where to hit. And just.
Whenever I did stand up, I got sick of telling the same joke sometimes. But I'm like, hey, but this crowd has never heard it before. But I you can. I see it through videos of mine. I'm like, I've been telling this joke for 2 years. It just doesn't quite have the enthusiasm.
I remember I did at Kickers is a place right down the street from our other bar in Livonia. They had a open mic night. I was like, oh, screw it, I'm going to do it. I was trying to get a friend of mine, Rags, Ben. Rags is his nickname. He's the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. I'm like, man, you have to get up on stage. And he said, I'll do it if you do it. I said, all right. So, all right, let's go up and tell a joke. I'm just going to tell a joke. I thought, what's the most offensive joke I can think of? So, what do you get when you stab a 5-year-old boy in the chest 50 times?
Oh, I know this one, a bloody dick.
No, a boner.
Oh, what'd you say?
What do you get when you stab a 5-year-old boy in the chest 50 times? A boner.
Oh, well, a bloody dick actually is even worse. So
I like that.
Maybe I just became the worst person ever, but
no, I like yours, but no, this is worse. What's the worst thing about fucking a 5-year-old boy in the ass is getting the blood out of your clown suit. Stuff like that. So
what's the sound a cat makes when you put it in the microwave?
What?
I can't remember. I was too busy masturbating.
Oh my God, I knew. Oh my God, that's good. Yes, something like that. And so I've got a sick sense of humor.
I noticed you laughed at that joke, and I was like, I'm just gonna go with it.
Well, with that Kathy thing, with the Tony Kirkus thing, I sat up there. Yeah, when I found out, one of the other bartenders had come in that night, and I was like, hey, Rube, did you hear about this? He's like, what? Kathy's dead over the mic. And I'm like, didn't even think about it. We were slow, so I really wasn't, it was like a Thursday. I wasn't thinking about it too much. And I was just shocked by it. And I kept saying it, like, can you guys fucking believe that? She's dead. Like, she's dead. Kathy's dead. And I didn't realize how I was coming across when, in fact, I was just shocked that it had happened, and I just couldn't process it. And I just kept saying it like, dude, this can't be. So everybody took it wrong. And so after that, everybody was like, oh, my God, dude, you're like the most evil guy ever. And I'm like, no, you're not understanding. It really bothered me that she'd passed, that it had something to do with us, and that I'd introduced her to the girl, that, and we introduced everybody. All the players met because of us, and that was a tough one to swallow. That was a hard one to, that one really messed with me. I'm sure we've had people get hurt in, car accidents and this, that, and the other thing. And, all these years and nothing really too bad. Thank God. But that really sticks with me. I'm still not sure how to process it.
It's a live and learn thing or whatever like that. I know that there was a guy that owned a bar that I was with, and he was, one of the regulars passed away, and he went to the funeral and stuff. And it was kind of something that, was in, in his obituary was something about, hey, he frequented the local establishments and whatnot. And this guy went there, and people like, oh, how did you know such and such? And he's like, oh, I worked it there. And like people kind of gave him the cold thing, and it hit him a little bit. And then he said the guy that owned the place was like, hey, man, we don't work at a health club. Like, you kind of like gotta. And now, again, I don't know the thing of that, way affect things, but I always hate when somebody says too soon, because I'm somebody that thinks very literally and logically is that, we measure time in seconds, nanoseconds, even like that. So that implies when you say too soon that there's a point where it becomes not too soon. So what exactly is that measurement? It's kind of like, it's kind of like you say someone's rich or poor. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, we measure things in pennies. At what penny amounts do I go from being rich or poor? You can't answer that question. So
where's the divider? Where's the dividing line?
That's just using logic that people don't like, because people get emotional when you say stuff like that. But emotions throw out all rationality. So at what point do I cross from this one to the other and stuff? And I get, now there is a thing for you weren't doing it for shock value. It was kind of you were in shock of your own. It sounds like. And you're saying right now you still can't process it, but that's kind of I'll be 100%. I've told this to some people close to me or like that, but I was in the room when my father passed away. Me and my brother were the last ones in there, and I don't know if you've ever. It's it is what it is. I look at it as a gift, because that's probably two people who would want to be in the room. And
I feel you there.
Maybe the manner there. And I was actually funny enough that I'm telling you this because you're out of Detroit. I was listening to a show called The Rewatchables as they were talking about true romance, and my father's laying there on morphine, and it's you can tell it's towards the end kind of thing. Me and my brother, as irresponsibly as we were, we brought in deuces of Bud Light and stuff like that. We're having a good time. they bring out these giant massage chairs for us. And I remember saying like, geez, I think who's the more relaxed one in the room right now? Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I know. Geez, oh, man.
Because humor's a coping mechanism. So have you ever watched The Wire?
No, actually.
Okay. I don't want to, I won't give you the full context like that, but eventually they come in, they tap us on the shoulder and like, hey, yeah, he's gone. And all that. And, we make our phone calls to who we got to make too, but we're walking, me and my brother are walking down this hallway and it's like, we're walking into the abyss of that. It seems like the hallway just never ends or whatever. And I remember just, my coping mechanism with a lot of things is humor. And I remember saying to my brother, I was like, I really feel like making a really kind of maybe tasteless joke right now or something like that. And like my brother said, he's like, I'd be really happy if you did. And I said, boy, the life of our party just died in there. It's not even really a joke, but it's like, it's just was something of that, like, hey, like, because again, my father and I'm constantly reminded of this. And I'm thinking about this a lot. It hits you in waves and stuff like that, but he always said life goes on, like, so it's kind of like, at that point where it's like, if I said that joke, fucking just told you, hey, I just came up with this joke about that right then and there. Like, for me, that was kind of just the way I dealt with things, which is, maybe not the best, but I don't know. Just kind of was throwing that one out there for you.
No, I do the exact same thing. Like, God, I don't know. When my dad died, because when I was a kid, I used to read, excuse me, I used to read stories to my dad to help him sleep. So we could do power naps during the day when I was a little kid. And then there was a story.
You're that boring, huh?
Oh yeah. And so there was this book, James and the Giant Peach.
Roald Dahl. I remember that one.
Yes. Oh, I love that book. Well, when I was a kid, our sixth grade teacher started reading it to us, and school had ended, and she didn't get to finish the story. And I was like, oh my God, what happens? And my dad said, well, recite the story to me. I said, well, there's no ending. He said, we'll come up with an ending. I was like, all right. And so I would, do that. And it was always, you remember Ant, Sponge, and Spiker, right?
I've definitely read the book. Yeah, but there was the spider, right?
No, Ant Sponge and Ant Spiker.
Okay.
His two ants that tortured him in the beginning. That was like really mean to him. So my dad would always say,
read in third grade, but I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad's like, hey, son, tell me the Ant Sponge and Spiker story. I was like, okay, Dad, I'm gonna tell the story. And so my dad was in a coma, and I used to always later on I would laugh with my dad. I said, Dad, I'm gonna read this to you on your deathbed. You know that, right? Yeah. We would laugh about it. And so there I was on his deathbed, and the last words I said to him was reading that story. He passed. And it was like the perfect bookend, to everything I'd gotten from him, and I was able to say everything I had to say. He wasn't conscious, but there was a moment there where I knew he heard me, and that just hey neighbor, that just sort of made everything better, made everything easier for me. So I don't know, for my dad, I had a hard time lightening up on that one, because I needed to be strong for my mom. My mom was devastated. And this at your father's funeral, you don't cry. It's just you just don't do it.
I looked at it as that. So what happened with my father is that he was in a last 41 days of his life. He spent in a hospital. He actually we was in a medically induced coma at one point, septic infection or whatever like that. Yeah. I actually was the one that they had to wait for to get there to take him off life support at the end because I had to travel from Rochester. And you know what's going to happen, but then your brother tells you like that. But we're the last ones in the room. We have to, so we're doing that there. And like my brothers are kind of doing their little emotional goodbyes. And honestly, I was like, hey, I never beat you in golf, Dad. You got time for a quick 9? That was like me, like even in that room.
Yeah,
that's kind of always the way. And I'm actually for the first time in a while, but
we did make light in the room. We did make light when it was just us.
But as I looked at after that, everything, once we actually did what we did, and I said that, I always kind of say that like a piece of me left in that room too, because I'm getting a little bit emotional talking about it right now.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you, brother.
But it's healthy for me to do this because I really thought like I left every tear I had left in that room.
Yeah.
Like at that point, I was actually cold in telling his significant other when they passed. Because he was in hospice at the end of the time, and I actually said I called her, and I remember I felt terrible, and I remember talking with her deeply about this afterwards. I was like, I called her. My call was like, hey, you know, you could probably imagine why I'm calling right now. And like, she was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I'm kind of like, what's so hard to believe? He was in hospice. Like, you know, like kind of like,
yeah,
you know, but because for me, like it kind of like it already happened. And then there was just the formality of it actually happening.
yes. Yeah. I sort of felt that way too. Like, okay, you know, I had, yeah, you resign yourself to the fact that it's going to happen, and you have to turn that key, you know, and
And when I say I like during that time period, I mean, I was just walking into stores, grabbing food, just walking out, eating it, not even giving a shit. Like, you know, that was kind of like you couldn't touch me at that point in time. Like, you know,
you're almost
like,
daring somebody to
right. Like, give me a reason to do something stupid. Like, you know, like, cause
exactly.
I'm just gonna continue to do something stupid, make me do something dumber. Like, you know,
yes, yeah, you know. But I'll tell you this. Maybe this happened. I want to ask you this. Maybe this happened to you. Literally about 10 minutes after I walked out of the room, all of a sudden I felt this rush of energy and strength that I'd never felt before. Like I actually felt my testosterone all of a sudden. Like I felt like, all right, well, now you're the fountainhead now, dude. So get in the game. You know, it was kind of how I felt like right away. And it made a lot of the feeling of, yeah, he's gone. This is bad. That just dropped away like pretty fast. I still really, to be honest, I still don't think I've actually mourned either parent's passing. I don't think I've processed that yet. I mean, I'm still dealing with my divorce, you know, my dog, you know, all that shit, you know.
yeah, no, I mean, those are all, I mean, that's just, I mean, and it happened in things. I mean, I probably went like I said, my father passed in September, and like I have the weird thing, I don't even remember the exact date. It's almost like my sobriety date. I know it happened September 20 something of 2018.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those, I don't know, it doesn't make me a bad son. I know his birthday and stuff like that, but it's like I'd almost just like, I think it's like a mental block I have of I just don't want to know.
Yeah.
I know when I get the text message or I'll see that I on this day in Facebook or whatever like that, you know, like kind of things.
Yes.
But it's like I don't actually go, oh, that's tomorrow, like, you know, kind of thing. It's like it's a way of protecting myself from things. And with my thing is that, you know, I had just started finding success in my career. My dad passed away at 59. And I remember I'd always had this self-sabotager. I remember I was always going to screw things up kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had my first big giant commission check and I'm like, I can't wait to throw my dad the biggest 60th birthday. And I was kind of like, what am I going to do to screw this up? And it was you know, but then because I had that mindset and like, you know, I knew I was drinking too much. And like the way to keep me off of that was I was like, you know, whenever you're an alcoholic of some form, you're always going to have that thing that you do distracted. So I became a workaholic again. Like work was like, take as much time as you need or like that. And I'm like, no, I like going back to there. I mean, on the call I got when I knew I had to go home, I was in the middle of closing a deal, walked away from her like that, walked back in there. And I mean, I remember, or this was actually when we got set sick. But I remember like people like they're going, oh, are you okay? You look a little off. And I was like, oh, nothing. I just found out they put my father in a medically induced coma. But I'm like, so we're still doing and they're like, are you sure? Do you want us to come back? And I was like, well, the only thing that would make this worse is if you didn't say yes to the thing you were about to say yes to before this happened. And I remember like going like, geez, I really put one in there, but I really lost myself in work as much as anything or whatever. And then COVID is when things kind of started happening because that's when people like when you had your friends and whatnot, you kind of fell in that group. And I was out the day before Father's Day with my buddy and his father. And I realized I would normally ride in the cart with my buddy and his father would ride the other one. And he was like, oh, it's kind of a Father's Day thing. And then I was, you know, golfing with someone I do with my father a lot. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm in the cart by myself. And then it just hit me like a fucking wave of things. Like, and it was like, you know, like I held off on as long as possibly could, but that was when it really got me. And then there was a lot of, you know, went down the whole rabbit hole. And again, like, and also too, is that the way I was in that manic state, as I described too, is I used, I hate saying this, but I used the crutch I walked on to fucking do a bunch of dumb shits.
Yeah.
You know, like it was like, you know, I mean, I probably, you know, which is dishonest, you know, dishonorable of me is that was just kind of the, you know, I'll just go on to this. But in some ways, I mean, that 18 months or whatever had passed in between there, I still hadn't really let out. I thought I let it all out in that room and then it started coming out a little bit more, but all of this has kind of worked into making me the guy I am now. And I like me. Some other people like me, you know, I mean,
well, how long have you been sober now?
A little over 2 years, 3-4 months. Middle of July of 2022 was when it all ended. The very, very first step, the detox one, was in April. And, I kind of, if, as I said before on a different show, or maybe on my own show, is that if, you nail it on your first try, good for you. I just don't think that maybe it was as much of an issue as you had at some points in time. But I had, 2 slip-ups along the way. And, one of them is, I tell anybody that gets sober, don't ever follow through with any plans you made when you were with the influence or whatever. So, like, in my case, it was I went to St. Louis to see the Cardinals. I'd planned on doing that well before that happened. And then it was like, I'll go there. And then it just kind of happened where I was like, 45 minutes before my flight, I'm like, well, what's the worst thing that happened if I had 2 beers, And I like, had that good feeling. Airport drunk was the best. Chat with that stranger and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's controlled though, because I get on the flights, and then it's no big deal. Fast forward to me almost sabotaging a great friendship with the people that I was staying with. And then getting pass out drunk in the St. Louis airport, because the flair that you had as a bartender, I had as a drunk. Okay. I'll send you one. I used to do one that was called the truck bomb. Okay. You know what an Irish car bomb is, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, now do a picture of that with a rocks glass full of Baileys and Jameson. And it's even better. I'll send you the exact video that was God knows how many people have seen it like that. It's of my buddy smacking me in the face. And it's not just a gentle smack. It's a pretty fucking good one. And, you'll get an idea of who you're talking to then and who you're talking to now, I guess, when I show you that one.
That's funny. Oh my
so
God.
David, we're kind of running into the 2-hour range right now. I imagine this is going to be one that people listen to a lot. What is the name of your book, and when is it coming out?
Okay, it should be out in February, in the middle of February. It's called What Sampson Saw, and it's all about my little dog, Sampson. Yep, he was with me for 18 years. He was with me through every bit of it. So
your dog knows secrets. Your dog goes to the grave with things that no one will ever know about you. Because
thank God.
Especially if you had that, if you like the drink, the number of things, my dog, Willie. I mean, I'm in that whole thing too, is that I'm a dog lover. And I think I use this as the excuse of that. I remember going away to college my freshman year and thinking my biggest fear was I'm going to get that phone call or like that. That fucker made it like 5 more years afterwards. I mean, like the ugliest fucking dog on the face of the earth. He was a Shepherd Collie Lab mix that looked like a fucking mutt. He had like three extra toes and stuff like that. Like, I mean, he was deformed toes. I mean, he was
that's the best.
But the most loyal motherfucker on the face of the earth or like that. And I just remember, like it was all that. And I think that, getting that whole deal was that, like, I say right now, the reason I don't have a dog, and it is partially true with my lifestyle of, working and stuff, I wouldn't be able to appropriately take care of one.
Yeah.
But like, I'm the kind of guy that if I walk up to a dog and I just like reach my hand down and start petting it, the owner's like, he normally doesn't like strangers and he likes you, So like, I have that affinity, but it's just like, there's a comedian that said it, you're purchasing the worst tragedy of your life.
Yes. That's the one thing I hate. Every time I've gotten a dog, I'm like, great, here we go. So,
and like my grandfather, like, he found his wife. My grandmother passed away, he found that. And I mean, that was obviously a blow, but like, I honestly think that, shortly before he passed was that he found his dog in the same spot. And I mean, I think that was, because at the end of his life, I mean, we'd stop by and visit and stuff like that, but you didn't quite get that companionship that he had. Like that was his roommates, like his number one kind of deal. And like, so the dog thing definitely hits for sure.
Well, with Sampson was more of the best way to put him is he was my Watson, I guess, to my craziness. He was to my
Sherlock Holmes you're referring to?
Yes.
Ironically, I used to do trivia at a place called Scotland Yard Pub.
Okay. And well, he was my confidant, whenever I needed to talk. I mean, I talked to him like he was a person, just sitting there talking,
Oh, I used to wake up listening to my grandmother talk to her dog, Sparky, talking about it, whatever. Just wait for that. I guess maybe not waiting for them to say anything back, or just hoping they don't say anything back.
It's funny. It's kind of weird. He always had an act like if I had a good idea, like I'm sitting there working on the computer, and I'm like, man, that's a good. All of a sudden, if I felt his nose touch me, like he'd put his head on me, I'm like, oh my God, maybe it is a good idea. And I started to trust it a little bit, like, maybe he is seeing something good. And every now and again, he'd come up with some good ideas for me. So. Or confirm a good one for me.
When Sampson, I'm writing this down, so I got to put this in our little description here. When Sampson met,
it's called What Sampson Saw.
What Sampson Saw, gotcha.
Yep. And it's going to be in the middle of February.
Middle of February.
Yep.
Well,
mid-February.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and I look forward to, maybe even having you back on again, since again, you and I can riff.
I'd love to,
This
man.
I have to cut this short. You seem like
No,
a fucking somebody I met. Seem like somebody I met in a previous life, or maybe a good thing I didn't meet you in a previous life. I wouldn't be here right now having this conversation.
No, I would have looked down. No, I would have looked down for you. But that's the one thing we didn't do. We didn't go over the edge. So, yeah.
Well, like I said, I kind of did a little bit, but I'll definitely get caught up on some of the stuff you sent me. I really look forward to this one being out there. I'm going to really do the best I can to promote this one, because I think that, people have to listen to it in stages and parts, because it goes all over the place, because we got two fucking crazy ADD guys, and maybe,
I love it.
But definitely good stuff. And like I said, I plan on I have this 3-day trip of it. I can probably do Cincinnati, Toronto, and Detroit or whatever like that. There, I'll figure out how it goes. Or maybe, honestly, Detroit's one of my favorite airports. It's one of my favorite airports to pass through. Actually, Detroit.
I love that airport. Love Metro Detroit.
I mean, the one thing that killed me is the one time I was there, because I'm always going to do this. I travel alone a lot of the time because I like to just go to the beat of my own drum. And I was in that airport, and they were going to be offering up $800 for a fucking flight seat, and I'm like, they were saying, you'll have to wait 6 hours. I'm like, 6 hours in this airport? I fucking, with $800. First off, you can fucking play blackjack on your phone on FanDuel in the fucking airport. Second off, I'm like, there's a fucking Longhorn Steakhouse. I'll go down there and fucking just, lobster tails for me and all my friends, even though I don't know these people, I'll have a fucking time with this and have my next trip paid for. So maybe I'll just do the direct, because I mean, Detroit's usually a connecting place. I live right next to the Albany airport. So if you ever have any book stuff that find yourself this way, let me know. I'll be able to show you around.
I'll be there in a heartbeat. Oh my God, he'd love to do that. Love to do that.
So, and then now I got one last thing. What's the story behind Geronimo Totem?
Okay. Geronimo, you ever see the movie Wind?
No.
With Matthew Modine? Okay.
No.
He's a sailor, and he lost America's Cup, and he fell apart. His whole life just fell apart, and he had to come back from it. And he was out he was in the desert somewhere, and he found some hieroglyphs on the wall, and he'd come up with the idea of Geronimo. Like, why Geronimo? Because Geronimo just jumped, man. And I thought to myself, all right, well, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it. If I'm sticking my feet down and say I'm not taking another step till I get this done, this is a leap, man. This is a big leap, because I didn't know what my condition was at this point. When I'd come up with Geronimo Totem, I'm like, it's a charity that I started back then that I'm still trying to work on. And it does kind of do with the book a little bit, but a lot of it's going to be doing with the Humane Society and the St. Jude's Hospital. Those are the two places that I'm just going full bore, trying to help. And it was the St. Jude's Hospital that made me think of the Geronimo Totem. And I don't want to give too much away. All I can say is that it was an inspirational moment when it came into my head. I was like, this is an experiment. Let's just call it the Geronimo Totem experiment. And the totem it's your story. Okay. It's what your story is about. And what I want to do is I'm going to give an opportunity for people to tell their story in a way that they can pass it along to the next person in a way that it helps.
That's kind of what the point of the show is a little bit.
Exactly. And I would really love, like, as I move a little bit further with this, I get, few more ducks in a row. I'd like to share it with you to see if it's something, like, hey, yeah, that might be cool. Just something for you.
No, absolutely.
And I just, my whole goal is to try to help the next person along, not in an altruistic way or anything stupid like that. Just, hey, when you're supposed to be good to somebody, it's not, what did God say? It's, hey, man, somebody's down on the ground, you pick them up.
Right. That's been my thing. I mean, I didn't, one of my relapses I blame on AA, and I just, my higher powers, I just don't want ever to go back there. Like that's, it doesn't have to be the way that, if it works for you, that's wonderful. And again, if you're listening to the show all the time, you've heard me say it a million times, it works for you. It's wonderful. It just didn't work for me. And it's kind of like, this is the way my higher power is not having to go back there.
Exactly. And
and doing things my way, because again, you can't spoil the struggles. I mean, as I always go out and deal with younger people and stuff, you can't waste the surprises of life to them. Like, if you tell them what's going to happen, it just falls on deaf ears. But it's nice to know that when it does happen, or if it does happen, which it usually does, that they know that, oh yeah, that's what that guy was saying. And then it's like, hey, I'm not going to judge you for it, man. I had my fucking share, that too. And this is what worked for me. And, take a little dash of this and a little dash of that and make your own recipe.
Yeah. And the thing was, what I was saying about, doing all this research and shit like that is, I looked like a Tony Robbins and guys like that, none of their advice seemed to jive with someone like me, because of this condition. There's the whole idea of just pick yourself up and move. Well, that doesn't work for somebody like me, especially when I get into the executive function paralysis, stage where I just can't move. And that just goes out the window. And so I thought, all right, well, maybe this will help somebody else. Either way, it's a good story. I have a crazy story.
I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm gonna. You're gonna start eating into a lot of my time. I tell you that much, because you certainly sold me as that it's worth taking a look at all this stuff. And now it's got 10. You sent me 4 YouTube links or like that. I don't know how long all of them are. Any of
the Locker Room Saloon ones are only about 2-3 minutes long.
Yeah, no, I saw that one. Those will be easy to kind of promote or like that. But yeah, the other one I'm gonna have to, which I'll just have to do in stages of like when I go for a walk or something like that, bang out a little bit of the other one for sure. But
it's not too dry. It's not the Robert Cialdini, not dry at all. It's actually pretty enjoyable. So.
No, I found it interesting. It's just that 10 hours it's a long time for anything. So even though I'm pretty sure that if it wasn't for the fact I had things to do, I could probably be chatting with you for 10 hours, and probably will chat with you for 10 hours whenever we cross paths.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully it'll be sometime soon. So
yes, David. Well, you got my number, man. I'm always a text away. I don't mind responding to you. Someone tells me you don't sleep like I do very much. So
not at all. Not at all.
You got that active brain. David James Pittman, it's been a fucking pleasure meeting you. Ryan Schofield
thank
here.
You very much.
Nice to put a face to the voice. I mean, you definitely sound like a DJ for sure, too. Like, I'm surprised. I think that, you got like Casey Kasem if he had a little too much Pepsi in him.
I know. Oh, God.
But anyways, it was a pleasure. You looks like you got a lovely day there. Go enjoy it, and we will get connect at some point. I'll send you that one video I was talking about. So
yes, please, yes, do, yes.
And hopefully you enjoyed your time on the Scho-Zone.
I did. This is great. This is great. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you for letting me get my story out there. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is always like a therapy session amongst non-therapists, which we're actually bartenders are the best therapists. So
I'm telling you, us addicts, we're going to save the world. So
indeed. One day at a time. So
there you go.
All right, I'm gonna do a little editing here. You'll hear that, and then I'll connect you in a second. Okay. That was. I mean, I'm really running out of this, man. I think I've done like 6 episodes with guests, and I feel like I say this at the end of them, but that was. I'll just say it was fucking awesome. But that might have been one of my favorite ones I've done, just because I felt like I was talking to an older version of myself, or I'm seeing just. It's just amazing how you can connect through a fucking cell phone, just talking to somebody, and then some little webcam here. But looking forward to getting this out here. I record this one on Monday night on November 4th. Probably have this out on Tuesday for everybody. So take it easy, everybody. Like, subscribe, share, all that douchebag stuff us podcasts hosts say. That's been it for the Scho-Zone. And would it be an episode if I didn't hit end record?